Conquest's eyes open. He is breathing. His throat is intact. His body is whole. This should not be possible. The last thing he remembers is Mark Grayson's hands around his neck, refusing to let go even as Conquest punched him, even as they flew through mountains and into space, even as Mark's own intestines spilled from the wound Conquest tore in his stomach. He remembers suffocating. He remembers his vision fading. He remembers defeat. But he is alive. Conquest sits up slowly. He is in a cell, thick walls, reinforced steel. The air smells sterile. He recognizes this place. This is the Mojave Desert Prison, the 400-ton facility Cecil Stedman built to contain him after the first fight with Mark. After Mark headbutted his face into a bloody ruin and left him for dead. Conquest remembers this moment. He remembers waking here before, healing, then escaping to return to Grand Regent Thragg. He remembers reporting his failure. He remembers being forgiven. He remembers being sent back to kill Mark, Nolan, and Oliver during the Viltrumite War. And he remembers dying in that mission. Conquest stands, his body moves without pain. No injuries, no scars from the strangling, no damage from the disembowelment Mark gave him in their final fight. He looks at his hand, flexing his fingers. This is not resurrection. This is something else. He has been sent back, or time has collapsed, or something beyond his understanding has returned him to this exact point in the timeline. But he remembers everything. He remembers both battles with Mark. He remembers the Viltrumite War. He remembers Viltrum being destroyed by Mark, Nolan, Thetis, and Space Racer working together to shatter the planet's core. He remembers Grand Regent Thragg decapitating Thetis. He remembers Thragg's eventual defeat. He remembers Mark becoming Emperor. Conquest's mind races through the implications. If he has returned to this moment with full knowledge of what comes next, then the timeline is open. Mark is still weak. Mark has not trained with Nolan yet. Mark has not joined the Coalition yet. Mark is still broken from the Invincible War, still grieving the thousands who died when Angstrom Levy sent 18 evil versions of Mark to level cities across the globe. Mark is emotionally destroyed. Mark is vulnerable, and Conquest knows exactly how to break him completely. Last time, Conquest arrived on Earth and announced himself. He delivered Thragg's message. He gave Mark a chance to surrender. He enjoyed the fight. He savored every broken bone, every moment of Mark's pain, every second of dominance. That was his mistake. Conquest treated it like a test, like a game. He wanted Mark to understand the gap between them. He wanted Mark to feel hopeless before the end. But Mark did not stay hopeless. Mark grew. Mark trained. Mark became strong enough to strangle Conquest to death, even while dying himself. This time will be different. Conquest does not smile. He does not feel the usual thrill of violence rising in his chest. He feels something colder. Purpose. Calculation. He has failed twice because he underestimated the half-breed's potential. He will not fail again. The first step is simple. He must escape this prison. That part is easy. Conquest walks to the wall and punches through it. The steel crumples like paper. He tears through the reinforced layers, through the concrete, through the outer shell. Alarms begin screaming. Guards rush toward the breach. Conquest does not even look at them. He launches himself into the sky, breaking the sound barrier in seconds. Behind him, the prison collapses inward from the force of his exit. Conquest rises into the upper atmosphere, then pauses. Below him, the planet spreads out in blues and greens. Somewhere down there, Mark Grayson is helping with cleanup efforts in Manhattan. Somewhere down there, Adam Eve is in a hospital bed, recovering from her near death during the Invincible War. Somewhere down there, the future Emperor is emotionally shattered and physically exhausted. Conquest could go to Mark right now. He could kill him before Mark even knows he has escaped. But that would create questions. Cecil would investigate. The Coalition would notice. Thragg would hear about it and wonder why Conquest acted without orders. And more importantly, killing Mark directly would not guarantee the timeline changes the way Conquest needs it to. No, there is a better way. Conquest remembers the first fight clearly. He remembers impaling Adam Eve through the chest. He remembers her unlocking her full power in that moment of near death, rebuilding her body, firing an energy blast that burned his skin. He remembers Mark's rage when he thought she was going to die. That rage gave Mark the strength to headbutt Conquest into unconsciousness. Adam Eve is the key. In the original timeline, she survived and became something close to a god. Her mental blocks broke. Her power expanded. She became one of the only beings on Earth who could hurt a Viltrumite with energy alone. She became Mark's emotional anchor. She became his wife. She became the mother of his child. She is Mark's greatest strength, which means she must die first. Conquest turns in the air, scanning the planet below with Viltrumite senses. He can feel heat signatures. He can track movement patterns. He can identify the high-security medical facility where Eve is being kept under GDA protection. She is unconscious. She is healing. She is completely vulnerable, and she will never wake up. Conquest does not head toward the Viltrumite warship, where Thragg is waiting. He does not report his escape. He does not follow the chain of command. Instead, he angles downward, building speed, targeting the hospital. Last time, he announced himself. Last time, he gave Mark a chance to fight. Last time, he played by the rules of Viltrumite combat. This time, Mark Grayson dies before he knows Conquest is even free. Conquest enters the mesosphere at terminal velocity, then pushes harder. The air around him ignites from friction. He becomes a meteor, a falling star, a weapon aimed at the one person whose survival guarantees Mark's future. He thinks about Thragg. He thinks about the Empire. He thinks about the war that is coming. If he kills Mark now, the Coalition loses their most powerful future asset. If he eliminates Adam Eve first, Mark loses the emotional strength to resist. If he handles this correctly, he can return to Thragg as the warrior who succeeded where the Empire's patience would have failed. But there is a risk. If Thragg learns Conquest has future knowledge, he will see it as a threat. Viltrumites do not come back from death with memories intact. Viltrumites do not know the future. If Conquest reveals too much, Thragg will kill him for being compromised, for being unpredictable, for knowing things that could challenge Thragg's authority. So Conquest will be careful. He will kill Eve. He will cripple Mark. He will return to Thragg and report success. And he will never mention that he has already lived this timeline once before. The hospital grows larger in his vision. He can see the building now. He can see the anti-aircraft defenses Cecil installed after the Invincible War. He can see the patrol patterns of GDA soldiers. None of it matters. They are designed to stop threats they can see coming. They are designed to respond to warnings. Conquest will not give them a warning. He adjusts his trajectory slightly, aiming for the wing where Eve is being treated. The building rushes up to meet him. At the last second, Conquest pulls out of the dive and crashes through the outer wall at supersonic speed. The shockwave shatters windows for 3 blocks. Alarms scream. Guards scramble. Conquest moves through the hallways like a blade, killing anyone in his path without hesitation. He reaches Eve's room in 4 seconds. She is there, unconscious, breathing steadily. Machines monitoring her vitals. IVs feeding her fluids. Her body is still healing from the injuries she took during the Invincible War. She looks peaceful. Conquest hesitates. Killing an unconscious woman is tactically correct. It is strategically necessary, but it is also disgraceful. Even among Viltrumites, there is a code. You fight warriors, you face enemies who can defend themselves. But Conquest has already died twice because he followed that code, because he gave Mark chances, because he fought with pride instead of purpose. He will not make that mistake again. Conquest steps forward and punches through Adam Eve's chest before she can wake. No energy blast, no last-second power unlock, no miracle resurrection, just death, instant and final. The machines flatline, the alarms shift from general alert to medical emergency. Conquest pulls his hand back, blood dripping from his knuckles. He looks down at her body and feels nothing. No satisfaction, no regret, just the cold certainty that he has changed the future. Then he hears the scream. It comes from across the city, a sound of pure rage and grief. Mark felt the shockwave. Mark is flying toward the hospital at full speed. Conquest can feel him coming, can sense the fury radiating from the half-breed like heat from a star. Good. Conquest wanted Mark angry. Angry people make mistakes. Angry people fight recklessly. And Conquest has already seen how Mark fights when he is consumed by rage. He knows the patterns. He knows the weaknesses. He knows exactly how to counter the berserker state that gave Mark the strength to headbutt his face into ruin the first time. Conquest walks out of the hospital into the street. Civilians are running. GDA soldiers are taking positions. Helicopters are circling overhead. None of them matter. Conquest waits in the center of the road, watching the sky. Mark arrives like a missile. No words, no hesitation. Just a punch aimed directly at Conquest's face with enough force to shatter concrete. Conquest catches the punch. Mark's eyes widen in shock. Last time, Conquest let him land hits. Last time, Conquest enjoyed taking damage just to show how much stronger he was. This time, Conquest blocks everything. He twists Mark's arm, throws him into the ground, and stomps on his ribs before Mark can recover. Mark rolls away, bleeding from his mouth. He charges again. Conquest sidesteps, grabs Mark's head, and slams him through the hospital wall. Mark crashes into the rubble where Eve's body lies. He sees her. He sees what Conquest did. Mark's scream shakes buildings. He launches himself at Conquest with more power than before. The grief is fueling him. The rage is making him stronger than Conquest anticipated. Mark lands a punch that breaks 2 of Conquest's ribs. Conquest feels the pain and realizes something is wrong. The boy is already stronger than last time. This does not make sense. Mark should be weaker now. He should be exhausted from the Invincible War. He should be broken from losing Rexplode and now Eve. But instead, the grief is unlocking something. A temporary power spike. An emotional surge that is pushing Mark beyond his normal limits. Conquest blocks another punch, counters with an elbow to Mark's face, then drives his knee into Mark's stomach. Mark doubles over. Conquest raises both fists to finish him. The Guardians of the Globe arrive. Immortal, Black Samson, bulletproof. They hit Conquest from 3 sides simultaneously. It is not enough to hurt him, but it is enough to force him back. More heroes are coming. The entire GDA is mobilizing. This is not how Conquest planned this. He looks at Mark, who is on his knees, holding Eve's body, screaming at the sky. Conquest could finish him now, could kill him while he is distracted. But something stops him. Not mercy, not honor. Calculation. If Conquest kills Mark here, in front of the Guardians, with GDA recording everything, the Coalition will investigate. Nolan will hear about it, Thragg will hear about it, and the questions will start. Why did Conquest escape early? Why did he target Eve first? How did he know to strike before anyone expected him? Conquest is betting on changing the future, but he is also betting on his ability to control how the change looks to everyone else. He needs time. He needs Thragg to see this as strategy, not foreknowledge. He needs to retreat and regroup. Conquest launches himself into the sky, breaking through the sound barrier before the Guardians can pursue. Mark tries to follow but collapses after 10 feet. His body gives out, his grief pulls him back down. Conquest circles higher, watching from the edge of space. Below, Mark cradles Eve's body in the ruins of the hospital. Below, the Guardians try to help him. Below, Cecil Stedman is realizing that Conquest escaped and killed Adam Eve in less than 5 minutes. Conquest realizes something as he watches. Mark's rage made him stronger than expected. The timeline is already reacting to the change. The future is not fixed. Every action Conquest takes will create ripples he cannot fully predict. But he is committed now. Eve is dead. Mark is broken. The path forward is set. Conquest turns away from Earth and begins the flight toward Thragg's warship. He will report his success. He will claim Earth is ready for occupation. He will lie about how much he knows. And he will hope that Thragg does not see through him before Conquest can finish what he started. Alan the alien receives the transmission from Earth while he is reviewing Coalition intelligence reports on his ship. The message is short, direct, urgent. Conquest is free. Adam Eve is dead. Mark is broken. Alan stops moving. He reads the message again. Conquest escaped from the Mojave facility. That facility was supposed to hold a wounded Viltrumite indefinitely. Cecil Stedman designed it specifically to contain Conquest after Mark headbutted him into unconsciousness during their first fight. 400 tons of reinforced steel and concrete, guard rotations, sensor arrays, fail-safes. Conquest tore through it in seconds. Alan pulls up the attached video feed. Surveillance footage from the hospital. Conquest crashes through the wall at supersonic speed. Conquest moves through hallways, killing guards without slowing down. Conquest reaches Adam Eve's room. Conquest punches through her chest while she sleeps. The timestamp shows the entire attack took 4 minutes from prison escape to Eve's death. Alan feels cold. He has fought Viltrumites before. He has seen them destroy planets. He has seen them slaughter entire civilizations. But this is different. This was not combat. This was execution. Conquest did not announce himself, did not deliver a warning, did not give anyone a chance to respond. He just killed her and left. That is not how Conquest fights. Conquest enjoys violence. Conquest taunts his enemies. Conquest drags battles out to prove his superiority. Alan has read the reports from Mark's first encounter with Conquest. The old Viltrumite spent hours breaking Mark slowly, savoring every moment. He impaled Adam Eve to make Mark suffer more. He laughed while Mark screamed. This attack was fast, efficient, cold. Something has changed. Alan immediately opens a communication channel to Thragg. The signal takes a few seconds to connect across the distance. When the screen activates, he sees Nolan Grayson standing in a simple dwelling, holding an infant. Andressa, the Thraxan woman Nolan has been living with, stands beside him. The child is Oliver, Nolan's second son, born from his time in exile after betraying the Viltrumite Empire and leaving Earth. Nolan sees Alan's expression and his face goes rigid. What happened? Conquest escaped. Alan says, he killed Adam Eve. Mark is alive, but Cecil says he is not responding. He is catatonic. The infant in Nolan's arms begins crying. Nolan does not seem to notice. He hands Oliver to Andressa without looking at her. When did this happen? I need to go to Earth. The Coalition needs you for the war effort, Alan says. Thetis is still building the strategy to counter the Viltrumite expansion. We are not ready to move against Thragg yet. My son just watched his girlfriend die, Nolan says quietly. His voice is controlled, but Alan can hear the rage underneath. The Coalition will have to wait. Alan understands. He has never had children, but he has seen what losing family does to people. He has seen entire species collapse from grief. He nods. I will tell Thetis you are taking personal leave. But Nolan, there is something else. The way Conquest attacked, it was not like him. He was too precise. Too fast, no taunting, no speeches, just murder and retreat. What are you saying? I am saying Conquest is either compromised or he has changed tactics, Alan says. Either way, he is more dangerous than before. And if he is hunting Mark, he will return. Then I will kill him before he gets the chance, Nolan says. He cuts the transmission. Alan sits back in his chair. He thinks about the timeline. Conquest was supposed to report back to Thragg after escaping. That is what the intelligence reports predicted. Instead, Conquest went straight to Earth and killed the one person whose survival guaranteed Mark's future strength. Adam Eve was developing powers that rivaled Viltrumite durability. Her energy manipulation was growing. She was becoming a threat to the Empire, and Conquest killed her before she could fully awaken. That implies planning. That implies knowledge of her potential. That implies Conquest knew exactly who to target and when. Alan opens another channel, this time to Thetis at the Coalition headquarters on Tailskria. When the leader of the Coalition appears on screen, Alan wastes no time. We have a problem. Conquest killed Adam Eve and Mark Grayson is neutralized. Nolan is heading to Earth now. Thetis, an older Viltrumite who betrayed the Empire centuries ago and founded the Coalition, listens without interrupting. When Alan finishes, Thetis is silent for a long moment. Then he speaks. Conquest has never shown strategic restraint before. If he is acting with this level of precision, either Thragg has given him new orders or something else is happening. What do you want me to do? Monitor the situation? Thetis says. If Conquest is reporting back to Thragg, the Empire will mobilize. They have been waiting for an opportunity to occupy Earth. If they believe Mark is broken and Nolan is distracted, they will strike. Should I go to Earth? Not yet, Thetis says. We need you coordinating Coalition forces. If the Viltrumites invade Earth, we will respond. But we cannot commit everything to one planet. Thragg knows that. He may be using this as bait. Alan nods, but he does not like it. Mark was supposed to be the Coalition's future. Mark was half human, half Viltrumite. Mark proved that Viltrumites could change. Mark gave hope to every species fighting the Empire. If Mark is broken, the symbolic loss is almost as bad as the tactical one. Alan closes the communication and pulls up surveillance of Earth. GDA satellites are tracking Mark's location. He is still at the hospital, still holding Eve's body, not moving, not responding to anyone trying to reach him. Cecil Stedman appears in the footage, approaching Mark carefully. Mark does not acknowledge him. Cecil signals to his soldiers and they back away. This is not something force can solve. This is grief. This is trauma. This is a young man who has lost too much in too short a time. Alan switches the feed to deep space sensors. If Conquest is heading back to Thragg's warship, the Coalition will detect the Viltrumite energy signature. The sensors scan, the data processes, and then Alan sees it. A single Viltrumite moving through the void toward known Empire coordinates. Conquest is reporting to Thragg. Alan sends an alert to all Coalition forces. Elevated threat level, possible Empire mobilization. Prepare for engagement. Then he waits. Because if Thragg believes Earth is vulnerable, the Grand Regent will not send scouts or diplomats. He will send an invasion force. On Earth, Nolan arrives in the middle of the night. He does not announce himself to Cecil. He does not check in with the GDA. He flies directly to the medical facility where Mark is being held. Mark is sitting in a sterile room, staring at the wall. Eve's body has been moved to the morgue. Mark did not fight when they took her. He just let go and stopped talking. Debbie Grayson, Mark's mother, is sitting beside him, trying to reach him. She is crying silently. Mark has not looked at her in hours. Nolan enters the room. Debbie sees him and stands, wiping her eyes. He will not talk. He will not eat. He just sits there. Nolan looks at his son. Mark's face is empty. No tears, no anger, just nothing. This is worse than rage. This is shutdown. This is a mind protecting itself from pain it cannot process. Mark, Nolan says. No response. Mark, I need you to listen to me. I know what you are feeling. I know what it is like to lose someone you love. But you cannot stay here. Conquest is still out there. He will come back. And when he does, you need to be ready. Mark's eyes flicker slightly. His mouth moves. The first words he has spoken in hours come out as a whisper. She is dead because of me. Not because of you. I was too slow, Mark says. I felt the shockwave. I flew as fast as I could. But I was too slow. I am always too slow. You are not trained yet, Nolan says. You are strong, but you do not know how to use that strength. I can teach you. The Coalition can teach you. But you have to choose to stand up. Mark finally looks at his father. What is the point? Conquest is stronger than me. You said so yourself. Even if I train, even if I get faster, he has 5,000 years of experience. He has survived wars I cannot imagine. How am I supposed to fight that? Because you have to, Nolan says. Because if you do not, everyone else dies. Your mother, your friends, everyone on this planet. Conquest is not finished. This was just the beginning. Mark looks away. Maybe they should surrender. Maybe that would save more lives than fighting. Nolan grabs Mark's shoulders. Listen to me. The Viltrumite Empire does not accept surrender. They conquer, they enslave, they destroy everything that resists, and everything that submits. There is no peace with them. There is only survival or extinction. Then we are already dead, Mark says. Debbie steps forward. Mark, please, you are scaring me. Mark stands slowly. He walks to the window and looks out at the city. People are still cleaning up from the Invincible War. Buildings are still in ruins. Memorials are still being built for the dead. And now there is another memorial, another funeral, another name added to the list of people who died because Mark exists. I need to be alone, Mark says. Nolan wants to argue, but Debbie touches his arm and shakes her head. They leave the room together. Outside in the hallway, Debbie turns to Nolan. What are we going to do? I am going to kill Conquest, Nolan says. You said he is almost as strong as you. Almost is enough, Nolan says. But he knows that is not entirely true. Conquest is close to Nolan's level. In a straight fight, the outcome would depend on endurance, strategy, and luck. And Conquest has proven he is no longer fighting with honor. He is fighting to win. Cecil appears at the end of the hallway, walking toward them with his usual measured pace. Omni-Man. I assume you are here because you heard about Conquest. I am here because my son is catatonic, and the Viltrumite who did this is still alive, Nolan says. I want Conquest dead just as much as you do. But before we start planning revenge, we need to talk about what happens next. What do you mean? Conquest leaving Earth. Conquest flying toward deep space. Conquest heading in the direction of known Viltrumite territories. Conquest is reporting to Thragg. And if he tells Thragg that Mark is neutralized and you are distracted, the Empire will move. They have been waiting for Earth to be vulnerable. Now it is. Nolan stares at the footage. He thinks about Thragg, the Grand Regent of the Viltrumite Empire, the strongest Viltrumite alive, the warrior who has led the Empire's expansion for centuries. If Thragg decides to invade Earth personally, Nolan cannot stop him. Mark cannot stop him. The entire GDA cannot stop him. How long do we have? Nolan asks. Unknown, Cecil says. Could be days, could be hours. Depends on how fast Thragg decides to act. Then we need to prepare, Nolan says. Contact the Coalition. Tell them Earth needs support. Alan, Thetis, Space Racer, everyone who can fight a Viltrumite. If the Empire is coming, we need to be ready. Cecil nods. Already done. But Nolan, there is something you should know. Conquest's behavior does not match his profile. He has always been a brute, savage, unpredictable in his cruelty but predictable in his methods. This attack was surgical. He knew exactly where to go and who to kill. That suggests intelligence, planning, possibly orders from Thragg. Or he learned from his first fight with Mark, Nolan says. He underestimated Mark before. He will not make that mistake again. But I have been studying Viltrumites for a long time. They do not change tactics this drastically overnight. Something is different about Conquest, and that makes him more dangerous than before. Nolan does not respond. He is thinking about his own transformation, how he came to Earth as a conqueror and slowly became something else. How loving Debbie changed him, how raising Mark changed him, how betraying the Empire changed him. Viltrumites can change, but it takes time. It takes pressure. It takes something breaking inside them. What broke inside Conquest? Nolan does not have an answer, and that uncertainty is almost worse than the certainty of violence. Meanwhile, in orbit, Conquest approaches Thragg's warship. The massive vessel hangs in the void like a predator waiting to strike. Conquest can see other Viltrumites moving across its hull. Craig, Lucan, Anissa, the Empire's strongest warriors, the enforcers of Thragg's will. Conquest slows as he enters the docking bay. He lands on the metal floor and walks toward the command chamber. His ribs ache where Mark hit him. The boy's punch was stronger than it should have been. The timeline is already shifting. Conquest enters the chamber. Thragg is waiting, standing in front of a holographic display of Earth. The Grand Regent does not turn around. Conquest, you escaped faster than I anticipated. I do not waste time, Regent, Conquest says. No, Thragg says slowly. You do not. He finally turns, and his eyes study Conquest with the focus of a predator evaluating prey. Tell me what happened. Conquest chooses his words carefully. The half-breed was weak from the Invincible War. I eliminated his emotional anchor, his woman. The one called Adam Eve, he attacked me in rage. I retreated before the Coalition could interfere. Earth is broken. The boy is neutralized. Thragg circles Conquest slowly. You killed the woman first. Yes. Why? Because she made him strong, Conquest says. I saw it in our first fight. When I hurt her, his power increased. His rage unlocked something. I decided to remove that variable before engaging him directly. Thragg stops circling. That is tactical thinking. You have never been tactical before Conquest. You have been savage, brutal. Effective, yes, but never strategic. What changed? Conquest feels the trap closing. He cannot tell Thragg the truth. He cannot say he has lived this timeline before and learned from his mistakes. Thragg would kill him for that kind of knowledge. So Conquest lies. I learned from failure, Regent. You forgave me once. I will not require your mercy again. Viltrumites do not learn. Thragg says quietly. We dominate or we die. You are neither dominant nor dead. That makes you an anomaly. Conquest kneels. The gesture is submission, but it is also survival. I serve the Empire. I serve you. If you doubt my loyalty, test me. Thragg considers this. Then he smiles slightly. It is not a kind smile. Very well. I have a test for you. Kill Omni-Man. He is on Earth now, protecting his broken son. If you can kill the traitor, I will believe you have changed. If you fail, you will not leave Earth alive. Conquest nods. It will be done. You have 48 hours, Thragg says. Do not waste them. Conquest stands and leaves the command chamber. Behind him, he can hear Craig speaking to Thragg in low tones. Conquest does not hear the full conversation, but he catches fragments. Something is wrong with him. He is compromised. We should kill him now. Conquest exits the warship and launches himself back toward Earth. His mind is racing. Thragg suspects him the test is not just about killing Nolan. It is about proving Conquest is still the warrior he was before. Still predictable, still controllable. But Conquest is neither of those things anymore. He has seen the future. He has seen Thragg lose. He has seen the Empire collapse. He has seen Mark become emperor and Thragg die screaming in the sun. And Conquest is beginning to realize that changing the future might require betraying everything he has ever known. Nolan stands on the roof of GDA headquarters watching the sky. It is 3 a.m. Most of the city is asleep. The cleanup crews have gone home. The memorials are quiet, but Nolan cannot rest. He knows Conquest is coming back. Cecil joins him on the roof, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He offers one to Nolan. Nolan takes it but does not drink. "You should be coordinating defenses," Nolan says. "I am," Cecil says, "but I also know you are about to do something stupid, and I want to try talking you out of it first." "I am not doing anything stupid. I am protecting my son by fighting Conquest alone," Cecil says. "That is the definition of stupid." Nolan looks at him. "You have seen the footage from their first fight. You know what Conquest can do. If he returns, Mark is in no condition to fight him. Someone has to stand between them." "Then let us prepare a trap," Cecil says. "We have weapons, sonic disruptors that can disorient Viltrumites, high-frequency emitters that disrupt your equilibrium. Space Racer's gun is on loan from the Coalition. We can hurt Conquest if we plan this correctly." "You tried that approach before," Nolan says. "You imprisoned him in a 400-ton facility designed specifically to contain a Viltrumite. He escaped in seconds. Conquest does not fall for traps anymore, because he is different now," Cecil says. "Which means we need to figure out why. Conquest has been fighting for 5,000 years. He survived the Great Purge. He survived the Scourge virus. He has conquered hundreds of planets. That kind of warrior does not suddenly develop strategic restraint overnight." Nolan considers this. Cecil is right. Something has changed about Conquest. The old Conquest would have killed Mark immediately after killing Eve. He would have stayed to slaughter the Guardians. He would have delivered a speech about Viltrumite superiority before leaving. Instead, he struck fast, retreated smart, and left Earth before anyone could organize a response. That is not the Conquest Nolan remembers from the reports. "What are you suggesting?" Nolan asks. "I am suggesting Conquest may have been given new orders," Cecil says, "or new information, something that changed his approach. And if we can figure out what that is, we might be able to use it against him." Before Nolan can respond, the alarms begin screaming. Every sensor array in the GDA facility activates simultaneously. Cecil pulls out his tablet. His face goes pale. "We have a Viltrumite signature approaching. Fast. ETA 90 seconds. It is Conquest," Nolan says. He sets down the coffee cup and rises into the air. "Get everyone to shelter. Keep Mark safe. I will handle this." "Nolan, wait." Nolan does not wait. He launches himself toward the approaching signature, breaking the sound barrier in seconds. Behind him, GDA defense systems activate. Sonic emitters power up. Weapon platforms track his flight path. But Nolan knows none of it will matter. If Conquest wants a fight, weapons will not stop him. Only another Viltrumite can stop a Viltrumite. Nolan climbs higher, scanning the sky. He sees it. A streak of light descending from orbit. Conquest falling like a meteor toward the city, toward the GDA headquarters, toward Mark. Nolan intercepts him at 20,000 feet. The collision sends a shockwave across the city. Windows shatter, car alarms scream. People wake up thinking an earthquake just hit. Nolan and Conquest separate, hovering in the air, staring at each other. "Omni-Man," Conquest says. His voice is calm, almost respectful. "Thragg sends his regards." "You killed my son's girlfriend," Nolan says. "You will die for that." "I killed a future threat to the Empire," Conquest says, "and I will kill you for the same reason." Thragg's orders. Nothing personal. Conquest meets him halfway. They collide again, fists slamming into each other with enough force to create sonic booms. Nolan lands a punch to Conquest's jaw. Conquest counters with an elbow to Nolan's ribs. They separate, then crash together again, grappling in midair. "You have gotten slower," Conquest says. "Exile has made you soft." Nolan headbutts him. "You have gotten more talkative. Old age must be catching up." Conquest laughs. Then he does something unexpected. He stops fighting. He pushes Nolan back and raises his hands slightly. Not surrender, not submission, just a pause. "What are you doing?" Nolan demands. "I need to tell you something," Conquest says quietly. "And I need you to listen before you try to kill me again. I am not interested in Viltrumite speeches." "This is not a speech," Conquest says. "This is a warning. Thragg suspects me. He gave me 48 hours to kill you in return with proof. If I fail, he will send the entire fleet to Earth. If I succeed, he will send the fleet anyway. Either way, the Empire is coming." Nolan narrows his eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" Because I know things I should not know, Conquest says. He glances around, checking for surveillance. GDA satellites are watching. Coalition sensors are tracking them. But Conquest continues anyway. I remember dying, Nolan. I remember your son strangling me to death during the Viltrumite War. I remember the Coalition attacking Viltrum. I remember the planet being destroyed. I remember all of it. I woke up in Cecil's prison with memories of a future that has not happened yet, Conquest says. I thought I could change it. I thought if I killed Mark before he became strong, I could save the Empire. So I killed Adam Eve. I broke Mark. I started this. But Thragg does not trust me now. He sees that I have changed, and he thinks I am compromised. He is testing my loyalty by ordering me to kill you. This is insane, Nolan says. Viltrumites do not come back from death with future knowledge. I know, Conquest says, but it happened anyway. And now I have to decide whether to follow orders or prevent the future I remember. And Conquest is afraid, not of Nolan, of something bigger. What future do you remember? The first time I nearly killed him. He survived because Adam Eve unlocked her power and saved him. The second time, I underestimated how strong he had become. He strangled me to death while dying himself. Between those fights, the Viltrumite War escalated. The Coalition attacked Viltrum. Your son, you, Thetis, and Space Racer worked together to destroy the planet's core. Thragg survived but lost everything. Years later, Mark killed him. And Mark becomes Emperor, Nolan asks? Yes. Why should I believe any of this? I chose not to, because I saw what he becomes, and part of me wants that future to happen, even if it means the Empire falls, even if it means I die again. Then he asks the question that matters most. If you want Mark to become Emperor, why did you kill Eve? Conquest looks away. Because I was afraid. I wanted to save the Empire by removing its greatest threat. But killing Eve did not stop Mark. It just made him angrier. And now the timeline is changing in ways I cannot predict. Mark hit me harder than he should have been able to. The rage unlocked something in him. I accelerated his growth by hurting him. So you made a mistake, Nolan says. I made several mistakes, Conquest says. And now I need to decide whether to keep fighting the future or help it happen. Below them, the Guardians of the Globe are approaching. Immortal is leading them, recently revived from being decapitated during the Invincible War. Black Samson, Bulletproof, and others are forming a perimeter. They see Nolan and Conquest talking instead of fighting, and they hesitate. Nolan makes a decision. If what you are saying is true, then we need time to prepare. Time to get Mark strong enough to face Thragg. Time to coordinate with the Coalition. Can you give us that time? How? Go back to Thragg, Nolan says. Tell him you fought me and I escaped. Tell him the Coalition interfered. Buy us time to evacuate civilians and fortify defenses. Then when Thragg comes, we fight together. Conquest stares at him. You want me to defect. I want you to choose a side, Nolan says. The Empire is doomed. You said so yourself. Thragg will lose. Viltrum will fall. The only question is how many people die before that happens. If you help us, we can minimize the casualties. If you fight us, everyone loses. Thragg will kill me for treason, Conquest says. Thragg will kill you anyway, Nolan says. You know too much. You have changed too much. He already suspects you. The moment you return without my corpse, he will end you. Your only chance is to switch sides before he does. Conquest knows Nolan is right. He has seen this play out before. In the original timeline, Thragg forgave him after the first failure because Conquest was still useful. But this version of Conquest is unpredictable. Thragg does not tolerate unpredictability. If I defect, the Empire will hunt me forever, Conquest says. If you defect, you might live long enough to see Mark become Emperor, Nolan counters. Is that not what you want? Conquest looks down at the city, at the people rebuilding, at the heroes preparing to defend their home, at the planet that has somehow produced a half-breed strong enough to kill him twice. He thinks about the future he remembers, about Mark standing over his grave, about Nolan burying him with full honors despite everything, about the respect in that gesture. And he makes his choice. I will give you time, Conquest says. But I cannot come back here if the Coalition sees me helping you. They will try to kill me. Alan the alien already fired on me once. Space Racer will not hesitate. I need to stay away from Earth until Thragg arrives. Where will you go? I will monitor Thragg's fleet, Conquest says. When he mobilizes, I will send you a warning. That is the best I can offer. Nolan nods. It is enough. Conquest prepares to leave. Then he stops. Nolan, in the future I remember, your son becomes the greatest warrior the universe has ever seen. But he only survives because you train him. He needs you. Do not let grief or guilt keep you from preparing him for what is coming. I know, Nolan says quietly. Conquest rises higher, preparing to launch himself back into space. But before he leaves, he says one more thing. Tell Mark I am sorry about the woman. It was strategic, not personal. But that does not make it forgivable. One ask purse is gone, a streak of light disappearing into the stars. The Guardians reach Nolan moments later. Immortal arrives first, his expression furious. What the hell was that? You were talking to him. Why did you not kill him? Because killing him would have brought the entire Viltrumite fleet to Earth within hours, Nolan says. Conquest is being hunted by Thragg. He just bought us time to prepare. You believe him? Immortal asks. I believe he is afraid of Thragg more than he hates us, Nolan says. And I believe he knows something about the future that makes him want to change sides. That is enough for now. Cecil is waiting on the roof, watching the satellite feeds. I heard the whole conversation, Cecil says. Audio surveillance picked it up. Conquest claims he has memories of a future where Mark becomes emperor and the Viltrumite Empire falls. I believe he believes it, Cecil says. Whether it is true or whether he is experiencing some kind of psychotic break does not matter. What matters is his behavior has changed, and that change might work in our favor. He killed Eve, Nolan says. Mark will never forgive that. Mark does not need to forgive him, Cecil says. Mark just needs to survive long enough to get strong enough to matter. If Conquest is telling the truth and Thragg is coming, we need to use every advantage we have, even if that advantage is a defecting Viltrumite war criminal. Nolan walks to the edge of the roof and looks down at the medical wing where Mark is being held. I need to talk to my son. He is still not responding. Nolan flies down to the window of Mark's room and enters without knocking. Mark is sitting in the same position as before, staring at nothing. Debbie has fallen asleep in the chair beside him, exhausted from trying to reach him for hours. Nolan sits across from Mark. Conquest was just here. We fought. He told me something you need to hear. Mark does not react. He has memories of the future, Nolan continues. He remembers fighting you twice. He remembers losing the second time. He remembers you becoming emperor of the Viltrumite Empire. Still nothing. He killed Eve because he was trying to change that future, Nolan says. He thought if he broke you early, you would never become strong enough to challenge Thragg. But he was wrong. You were stronger than he expected. Even broken, even grieving, you hit him hard enough to crack his ribs. That terrified him. Mark's eyes flicker slightly. Do you know why it terrified him? Nolan asks. Because it means the future is not fixed. It means no matter what he does, you are still becoming what you are meant to be. A warrior strong enough to kill the strongest Viltrumites alive. An emperor who will change everything. I do not want to be emperor, Mark whispers. You do not have a choice, Nolan says. Thragg is coming. The Empire is mobilizing. They are going to invade Earth, and when they do, you can either fight or you can watch everyone you love die. Eve is gone, but your mother is still here. Your friends are still here. This planet is still here, and they need you to stand up. Mark finally looks at his father. His eyes are red. I am not strong enough. Not yet, Nolan says, but you will be. I will train you. The coalition will train you. We will make you fast enough, strong enough, smart enough to survive what is coming. But you have to choose to fight. What if I fail again? Nolan says. But at least we will have tried. Mark is silent for a long time. Then, slowly, he stands. His legs shake slightly. He has not moved in hours. But he forces himself to stay upright. When do we start? Now, Nolan says. Behind them, Debbie wakes up. She sees Mark standing and starts crying again, but this time the tears are relief. Nolan takes Mark to the roof. Cecil is still there, coordinating with coalition forces. Alan is sending a ship, Cecil says. It will arrive in 6 hours. They will take Mark to Tailskria for advanced training. Thetis wants him combat-ready before Thragg arrives. Good, Nolan says. He turns to Mark. Before you leave, I need to teach you the most important lesson, the one that kept me alive for 2,000 years. What is it? Viltrumites are strong, Nolan says. But strength is not just about power. It is about endurance, about surviving when you should be dead, about getting back up when you have been broken. Conquest killed Eve to break you. He wanted you to give up. The fact that you are standing here right now means he already lost. The sun is beginning to rise. A new day is starting. Somewhere in space, Conquest is watching Thragg's fleet. Somewhere on Viltrum, the Empire is preparing for war. Somewhere in the future, Mark becomes emperor. But right now, in this moment, Mark is just a broken young man trying to figure out how to keep going. I am going to kill him, Mark says quietly. Conquest. Thragg. Everyone who thinks Earth is theirs to conquer. I am going to kill all of them. But first, you have to learn how. 6 hours later, a coalition ship descends from orbit and lands outside the GDA facility. Alan the alien emerges, along with Thetis and several coalition soldiers. Alan sees Mark and stops. I heard what happened, Alan says. I am sorry about Eve. Save it, Mark says. Just teach me how to fight. Alan looks at Nolan. Nolan nods. Alan gestures toward the ship. Then let us begin. Mark boards the coalition ship without looking back. Debbie watches from the roof, holding Nolan's hand. She does not want Mark to leave, but she knows he has to. Earth is not safe. Earth will never be safe as long as the Empire exists. As the ship lifts off, Cecil receives a transmission. It is encrypted. Coalition frequency. He opens it. The message is short. No signature, just coordinates and a timestamp. Thragg's fleet is mobilizing ETA to Earth. 72 hours. Cecil sends the message to Nolan. Nolan reads it and closes his eyes. 3 days. They have 3 days to prepare for the most powerful Viltrumite in the universe to arrive with an army. Get everyone ready, Nolan says. This is it. Nolan stays on the roof, watching the coalition ship disappear into the stars. He thinks about Conquest's warning. He thinks about Mark's future. He thinks about the choice he made all those years ago to betray the Empire and protect Earth instead. And he wonders if it will be enough. The Viltrumite warship hangs in the void like a blade waiting to fall. Conquest floats near it, just outside sensor range, watching the activity on its hull. Other Viltrumites are moving across the surface, preparing weapons, checking systems, running combat drills. The Empire is mobilizing exactly as he remembered, exactly as he feared. Thragg is planning something. Conquest has been monitoring the warship for 18 hours. He did not return after his conversation with Nolan. He sent a brief transmission instead. Omni-Man escaped. Coalition interference. Pursuing. It was a lie, but a plausible one. Enough to buy time. Enough to delay Thragg's suspicion. But not enough to stop what is coming. Conquest watches as another Viltrumite exits the warship. Craig, the loyal enforcer, Thragg's most trusted warrior after Conquest himself. Craig is speaking into a communication device, gesturing toward deep space. Toward Earth, the body language is clear. They are preparing to move. Conquest needs to send a warning to Nolan, but he cannot risk an open transmission. The Empire monitors all frequencies. If Thragg discovers Conquest is communicating with the Coalition, the invasion will accelerate. So Conquest waits, watching, calculating. Then the warship's primary engines activate. Conquest's blood goes cold. They are not preparing anymore. They are leaving now. He pulls back further, hiding behind a debris field from an ancient battle. Through the wreckage, he can see the warship beginning to move, slowly at first, then faster. The engines burn bright against the darkness of space. The ship is heading toward Earth. Conquest immediately transmits the coordinates to the encrypted Coalition frequency Cecil gave him. No message, just location data and a trajectory. Nolan will understand what it means. Then Conquest does something he has never done before in 5,000 years of service to the Empire. He follows the warship at a distance, preparing to fight against his own people. The journey takes 40 hours. Viltrumite warships are fast, but they are not designed for the kind of speed a single Viltrumite can achieve. Conquest stays far enough back that sensors will not detect him, close enough that he can track their course. He does not sleep. He does not rest. He just watches the ship carrying his former brothers and sisters toward the planet where his future will be decided. During the flight, Conquest thinks about what Nolan said, about choosing a side, about the Empire being doomed, about Mark becoming emperor. In the future, Conquest remembers, he died loyal to the Empire. He died fighting for Thragg's vision. He died believing Viltrumite supremacy was the only truth that mattered. But he also died knowing he was wrong. That knowledge came in the final moments, when Mark refused to let go. When Nolan buried him with honors despite everything. When Conquest realized that the half-breed had more strength in his compassion than Conquest had in all his centuries of cruelty. This time, Conquest wants to see if he can die differently. The warship enters Earth's solar system. Conquest can see the planet now, a blue marble hanging in the void. Fragile, beautiful, completely unprepared for what is about to arrive. The warship does not slow down. It does not hail Earth. It does not offer terms. It simply enters the atmosphere, engines burning, heading straight for the largest population center. Conquest watches as Earth's defense systems activate. GDA satellites track the incoming threat. Fighter jets scramble. Sonic emitters power up. But Conquest knows none of it will matter. You cannot stop a Viltrumite invasion with human technology. The warship descends over New York. No, not New York. Conquest checks the trajectory again. Washington, D.C. Thragg is going for the symbolic target, the center of Earth's government, the place where humans make their laws and pretend they have control. The warship stops in midair, hovering over the city like a storm that refuses to break. Then a single figure emerges from its hull, Grand Regent Thragg. Even from this distance, Conquest can feel the power radiating from him. Thragg is not the largest Viltrumite. He is not the oldest, but he is the strongest, the fastest. The most dangerous 5,000 years of combat have refined him into something beyond what most Viltrumites can comprehend. He is what happens when talent, training, and ruthlessness combine perfectly. Thragg descends slowly, landing on the roof of the Capitol building. The structure buckles slightly under his weight. Then he speaks, and his voice carries across the entire city through some kind of amplification technology built into his suit. People of Earth, I am Grand Regent Thragg of the Viltrumite Empire. Your planet has been selected for integration into our civilization. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. All governments will dissolve. All military forces will disarm. All resistance will end. If you comply, your species will be preserved as subjects of the Empire. If you resist, you will be eradicated. The message is simple, direct, brutal, exactly what Conquest expected. But Earth's response surprises him. Instead of panic, instead of chaos, instead of governments scrambling to negotiate, a single figure rises from the city to meet Thragg. Nolan, Conquest, watches as Omni-Man hovers in front of the Grand Regent. Alone, unarmed, completely outmatched. The two Viltrumites stare at each other. Brothers who became enemies, warriors who once served the same cause. Thragg, Nolan says. His voice is calm. Earth is under coalition protection. If you attack, you start a war you cannot win. Thragg smiles. The coalition is scattered across 1,000 systems. They cannot reach Earth in time to save it. And you, Nolan, are one warrior. Strong, yes, but not strong enough to stop me. I am not alone, Nolan says. As if on cue, more figures appear. The guardians of the globe rise from different points in the city. Immortal, Black Samson. Bulletproof, Rexplode's replacement. A young hero Cecil recruited from the backup team. Others, dozens of them. Earth's defenders, gathering to face an enemy they cannot possibly defeat. Thragg looks at them and laughs. You bring children to fight a god. I expected better from you, Nolan. Something you never understood. I understand survival, Thragg says. I understand power. I understand that the strong rule and the weak serve. That is the only truth that matters. Let me show you what happens when the weak refuse to serve. Nolan charges. Thragg does not move. He simply catches Nolan's punch with one hand, stopping all that momentum instantly. Then he headbutts Nolan so hard the shockwave shatters every window within 3 blocks. Nolan crashes into the street, creating a crater. He stands up, bleeding from his nose. Thragg descends slowly, touching down on the pavement. Is that the best you can offer? Immortal hits Thragg from behind. Black Samson fires an energy blast. Bulletproof slams into Thragg's chest with enough force to crater concrete. Thragg does not even flinch. He grabs Immortal by the head and throws him through a building. He catches Black Samson's energy blast and redirects it into the ground, creating an explosion that scatters the other heroes. He punches Bulletproof so hard the young man's ribs shatter audibly. In 15 seconds, Thragg has neutralized Earth's entire defensive line. Nolan stands again, preparing for another attack. But before he can move, the warship opens its bay doors. More Viltrumites emerge. Craig, Anissa, Lucan, 12 others. 15 Viltrumites in total, descending on the city like locusts. Conquest watches from orbit and realizes something terrible. Thragg is not here to test Earth. He is here to conquer it. Completely, permanently. He brought an overwhelming force specifically to break any resistance before it can organize. This is not the timeline Conquest remembers. This is happening too fast, too early. The Coalition is not here yet. Mark is still training on Tailscrya. Earth has no one strong enough to stop this. Conquest caused this by killing Eve, by breaking Mark. By accelerating the timeline, he created the exact scenario he was trying to prevent. Below, the Viltrumites spread out across the city. They are not killing indiscriminately. They are targeting infrastructure, power plants, communication centers, military bases. They are dismantling Earth's ability to coordinate resistance while leaving the population alive to witness it. Thragg stands over Nolan, who is on his knees now, bleeding from multiple wounds. Where is your son, Nolan? Where is the half-breed who thinks he can challenge the Empire? He is not here, Nolan says through gritted teeth. Then he is a coward, Thragg says. Just like his father. Stay there. I want you to watch what happens when a planet refuses the Empire's mercy. He is going to destroy it, going to vaporize the building and everyone inside as a demonstration of power. Then, something unexpected happens. A portal opens in the middle of the street. Coalition technology. A ship emerges, smaller than the Viltrumite warship but faster, more maneuverable. The hull opens, and several figures exit. Alan the alien, space racer. Thetis, and behind them, still in training gear, still bruised from whatever exercises he was running on Tailscrya, is Mark. Conquest's heart actually skips a beat. Mark should not be here. Mark is not ready. Mark is still weak from grief and lack of training. If he fights Thragg now, he will die. But Mark lands in front of his father anyway, placing himself between Nolan and the Grand Regent. You want to fight a half-breed. Here I am. But I see you still have some fight left. Conquest killed someone I love, Mark says. His voice is steady despite the fear Conquest can hear underneath. And you gave the order, so yes, I have plenty of fight left. Good, Thragg says. Let me show you why Conquest fears me. One moment he is standing 10 feet away. The next moment his fist is in Mark's stomach, lifting him off the ground. Mark tries to counter, but Thragg catches his arm and breaks it. The bone snaps audibly. Mark screams. Thragg headbutts him. Mark's vision goes white. Thragg throws him into the air, then flies up and punches him back down into the street. The impact creates a shockwave that knocks over cars. Mark tries to stand. His arm is broken. His ribs are cracked. Blood is running from his nose and mouth. He has been in the fight for less than 30 seconds, and he is already losing. Nolan tries to intervene, but Craig tackles him, dragging him away from the fight. Alan fires an energy blast at Thragg, but Anissa intercepts it. Space Racer aims his gun, but Lucan moves in front of him, blocking the shot. The Coalition is outnumbered, outmatched, being systematically neutralized by the Viltrumite strike force. Thragg stands over Mark, looking down at him with something like disappointment. This is the heir? This is the half-breed who will save the universe? Conquest was right to doubt you. Mark looks up at him, blood dripping from his face. Conquest was wrong about a lot of things. Oh? Thragg says. What did he tell you? He told me I become emperor, Mark says. He told me you lose. The amusement drains away, replaced by cold fury. What did you say? Conquest has memories of the future, Mark says. He knows how this ends, the Empire falls, Viltrum is destroyed, you die, and I become what you pretend to be. Thragg grabs Mark by the throat and lifts him into the air. Conquest told you this. He told my father, Mark chokes out. He defected. He is helping us. Mark's vision starts to fade. Then Thragg releases him and turns toward his warship. Craig, search the perimeter. Find Conquest. He is here somewhere. Craig stops fighting Nolan and launches into the sky. Scanning with Viltrumite senses, Conquest knows he has seconds before he is detected. He has two choices. Stay hidden and let Mark die, or reveal himself and become the enemy of both sides. Conquest thinks about the future he remembers, about Mark strangling him to death, about Nolan burying him with honors, about the respect in that gesture, and he makes his choice. Conquest drops from orbit like a falling star, building speed, aiming directly at Thragg. He slams into the Grand Regent at terminal velocity, driving him through the street, through the underground metro system, into the bedrock beneath the city. The impact is so violent it registers on seismic sensors as an earthquake. Conquest and Thragg separate, standing in the crater they just created. Around them, the walls are glowing from the heat of their collision. Thragg looks at Conquest, and for the first time in their long history together, Conquest sees genuine anger in the Grand Regent's eyes. "Conquest," Thragg says quietly, "you have made a grave mistake." "I know," Conquest says, "but it is the right mistake." Above them, Mark is trying to stand. Nolan is helping him up. The coalition forces are regrouping. The Guardians are pulling back. Everyone is watching the crater, waiting to see what happens next. Conquest takes a breath and shouts loud enough for every Viltrumite to hear. Thragg is not the heir. The true heir to Argal lives. Omni-Man's bloodline is Argal's bloodline. Mark Grayson is the rightful emperor. Every Viltrumite stops fighting. The silence is absolute. Craig stares at Conquest in shock. Anissa looks confused. Lucan's expression is unreadable. Even Thragg stands perfectly still, processing what Conquest just said. Then Thragg begins to laugh. It is not a kind sound. "So that is your play. You learned the secret, and you thought you could use it against me. But you are forgetting one thing, Conquest. Bloodline means nothing without strength, and the boy is weak." "He is weak now," Conquest says. "But I have seen what he becomes. I died fighting him, twice, once when he was barely trained, once when he had mastered his power. Both times he refused to surrender even when dying. Both times he found strength I did not know existed." "You are lying," Thragg says. "Ask yourself why I changed," Conquest says. "Ask yourself why I killed the woman instead of the boy. Ask yourself why I have been acting strategically instead of savagely. I learned, Thragg. I learned from losing, from dying, from seeing the future where you fall." Thragg's face goes cold. "Then I will kill you, and then I will kill the half-breed, and then I will kill every coalition member on this planet. And when I am finished, there will be no future except the one I create." Thragg attacks. Conquest barely blocks the first punch. Thragg is faster than him, stronger, more skilled. Every exchange proves it. Thragg breaks Conquest's jaw with an elbow, cracks his ribs with a knee, drives him through the crater walls into an underground water system. Conquest fights back with everything he has, using the future knowledge of Thragg's tactics to predict his movements. But knowledge is not enough. Thragg is simply too powerful. Then something changes. Nolan enters the crater, slamming into Thragg from behind. Space Racer fires his gun from above, the energy beam grazing Thragg's shoulder. The first injury, the first blood. Thragg roars in fury. He throws Conquest at Nolan, then catches Space Racer's second shot and redirects it back at the Coalition ship. The vessel explodes in midair, but the distraction is enough. Conquest and Nolan stand together, both bleeding, both exhausted, facing Thragg side by side. "This changes nothing," Thragg says. "You are still going to die." "Maybe," Conquest says, "but not today. You are bleeding, Thragg. That has never happened before. The Empire is not invincible, and the boy is still alive." Mark meets his eyes, and even though Mark is injured, even though he is terrified, he does not look away. Thragg makes a decision. "Viltrumites, withdraw to the ship. We return to Viltrum." "Regent, we have them beaten. We can finish this now." "No," Thragg says. His voice is hard, final. "We cannot afford casualties here. The Empire has fewer than 50 warriors. I will not lose them fighting for one planet when the Coalition still exists. We retreat, we regroup, we let them come to us if they dare." The Viltrumites begin pulling back. Anissa, Lucan, the others. They return to the warship, confused but obedient. Craig is the last to leave, staring at Conquest with pure hatred. Thragg rises from the crater, bleeding from his shoulder, his pride wounded for the first time in centuries. He looks at Conquest. "You made your choice. When I return, I will kill you slowly. I will make you remember why you feared me." "I never feared you," Conquest says. "I feared becoming you." Thragg's eyes flash. Then he flies to his warship without another word. The vessel's engines ignite. Within seconds, it is gone, disappearing into the atmosphere, heading back toward Viltrum. Earth is saved. Barely, Conquest collapses. His jaw is broken. His ribs are shattered. His entire body is screaming in pain. But he is alive. Nolan kneels beside him. "You just made an enemy of the most powerful Viltrumite in existence." "I know," Conquest says through his broken jaw. "But I also gave Mark time. Time to train. Time to grow. Time to become what he needs to be. Mark descends into the crater, his broken arm hanging uselessly. He looks at Conquest. "Because I saw what you become," Conquest says, "and the universe needs that, even if it means I die making it happen." "You killed Eve," Mark says quietly. "I know," Conquest says, "and I cannot undo that, but I can make sure her death was not meaningless. I can help you become strong enough that no one else you love dies because you were not ready." Mark is silent for a long moment. Then he says, "I am still going to kill you one day." "I know," Conquest says. "I have seen it, and I accept it." Space Racer and Alan approach, having survived the ship explosion by ejecting at the last moment. Thetis arrives from a backup shuttle. They all stand around Conquest, the Viltrumite who just defected in the middle of battle. "What do we do with him?" Alan asks. Mark looks at his father. Nolan looks at Conquest. Then Nolan says something Conquest never expected to hear. "We take him to Tailskria, we heal him, and we make him part of the coalition we are going to need every warrior we can get when Thragg comes back." The coalition medical facility on Tailskria smells like antiseptic and alien biology. Conquest lies on a reinforced table designed to hold Viltrumite weight, staring at the ceiling while doctors work on his broken jaw. The pain is manageable. He has experienced worse. But the stares from the coalition soldiers standing guard are harder to ignore. They look at him like a bomb that might explode at any moment. Conquest does not blame them. 3 days ago he killed Adam Eve in her hospital bed. 2 days ago he fought alongside them against Thragg. The whiplash of his allegiance shift is understandable, even to himself. Thetis enters the room, dismissing the guards with a gesture. The old Viltrumite who betrayed Emperor Argol 1,000 years ago and founded the Coalition of Planets walks slowly, studying Conquest with eyes that have seen civilizations rise and fall. "Your jaw will heal in 48 hours, Thetis says. Viltrumite physiology is efficient, but we both know the physical damage is not why I am here." Conquest tries to speak, but his jaw is wired shut. Thetis hands him a tablet with a text interface. Conquest types slowly with one hand, the other arm still in a regeneration sleeve. "I know what you want to ask, then answer it," Thetis says. "Why should I trust you? Why should I believe this is not an elaborate trap orchestrated by Thragg to infiltrate the coalition? You saw him. You heard what I said. I revealed the bloodline secret. I called Mark the rightful heir in front of every Viltrumite warrior. Thragg cannot forgive that." "Words are easy," Thetis says. "You could have planned this with Thragg, a false defection designed to gain our trust. Then, when we lower our guard, you strike." Conquest types faster, the words appearing on screen with urgency. "If I wanted to kill Mark, I would have done it when he was broken. When Eve was dead and he was catatonic. When Nolan was distracted. I had opportunity. I had advantage. Instead, I fought Thragg. I bled for Earth. What more do you need?" Thetis sits down in a chair that groans under his Viltrumite weight. "I need the truth. Not tactical truth. Not strategic truth. The real truth about what happened to you. Nolan told me you claim to have memories of a future that has not happened yet. That you died and woke with knowledge of events to come." Conquest hesitates. Then he begins typing. "I remember dying. Twice. The first time Mark headbutted my face into ruin after I impaled his woman. Cecil imprisoned me instead of killing me. I healed. I escaped. I reported to Thragg. He sent me to kill Mark during the Viltrumite War. The second time Mark strangled me to death while I was disemboweling him. He refused to let go even while dying. Nolan buried me with honors afterward. And when you woke in Cecil's prison, you remembered all of this?" "Yes. I thought I could change it, save the Empire, kill Mark before he became strong. But I was wrong. Killing Eve did not stop him. It accelerated his growth, and revealing my knowledge made Thragg suspicious. I created the exact timeline I was trying to prevent." Thetis leans back. "You understand how insane this sounds." "I understand, but it is the truth." "Why tell me?" Thetis asks. "Why not keep this secret? Because if I lie to you now, you will never trust me, and I need you to trust me. The Empire is coming. Thragg will return with everything he has. Mark is not ready. I can help prepare him, but only if you believe me." Thetis studies Conquest for a long moment. Then he asks the question that really matters. "In the future, you remember, does Mark win?" Conquest types without hesitation, "Yes, years from now, after the Viltrumite War. After Viltrum is destroyed, after Thragg rebuilds on Thraxa and creates a hybrid army. Mark kills Thragg in the sun, literally drags him into the solar core and burns him alive. Then Mark becomes emperor and changes everything. And you die before that happens? I die during the Viltrumite War, but Nolan respects me enough to bury me properly. That is the future I remember. Why do you want that future? Thetis asks. You are a loyal Viltrumite warrior. You have served the Empire for 5,000 years. Why betray it now? Conquest stops typing. The question cuts deeper than any wound Thragg gave him. Why does he want Mark to win? Why does he want the Empire to fall? These are the questions he has been avoiding since he woke up with future memories. He starts typing again, slower this time, because I have seen what the Empire becomes. Thragg's vision leads to extinction, fewer than 50 Viltrumites left, paranoid, isolated, breeding with conquered species to rebuild numbers. The Great Purge and Scourge virus nearly destroyed us. Thragg's ideology will finish the job. Mark offers something different, a future where Viltrumites evolve instead of stagnate. You believe a half-breed can lead better than the Grand Regent? I believe a half-breed who learned compassion from his human mother and strength from his Viltrumite father has advantages pure Viltrumites lack. Mark can bridge worlds. Thragg can only destroy them. Thetis nods slowly. Then I will give you a chance, but understand this, Conquest. If you betray us, I will kill you myself. I have killed Viltrumites before. Emperor Argal fell by my hand. You would not be the first warrior I ended. I understand. Good, Thetis says. He stands to leave, then pauses. One more question. In the future you remember, who kills you? I was trying to kill his brother Oliver. Mark was already dying from a wound I gave him, but he held on anyway. And you want that future to happen? About Mark's hands around his throat? About the half-breed's absolute refusal to let go even as his own intestines spilled from his stomach? About the kind of strength it takes to die fighting instead of surrender? Yes, because that death had meaning. It proved Mark was strong enough to lead. This time I want to die helping him get there instead of standing in his way. Thetis leaves without another word. Conquest lies on the table, healing, thinking about what comes next. Through the window he can see the Coalition training yards. Mark is there, working with Nolan on combat fundamentals. His broken arm is in a regeneration cast, his face is still bruised from Thragg's headbutt. But he is standing, fighting, refusing to quit. Just like the future Conquest remembers. 3 days later, Conquest's jaw heals enough to speak. The first thing he does is request a meeting with Mark. Thetis approves it, but with conditions: armed guards, monitored communication. No physical contact. Mark enters the room where Conquest is being held. He looks different than he did on Earth, stronger, more focused. The grief is still there in his eyes, but it has been channeled into something harder, something dangerous. You wanted to talk, Mark says. No greeting, no small talk. Just direct confrontation. I wanted to apologize, Conquest says. His jaw still aches when he speaks, but the words come out clear. For killing Eve, for breaking you, for starting this war. I do not want your apology, Mark says. I know, Conquest says, but I am giving it anyway. What I did was unforgivable, strategic, but unforgivable, and I cannot undo it. Then why tell me? I saw you in the future, strong enough to kill me, strong enough to kill Thragg, strong enough to change the Empire, and I was afraid. Afraid of what you represent. Afraid that everything I believed for 5,000 years was wrong, so I tried to stop you before you could prove it. Mark's fists clench. You killed her because you were afraid? I killed her because I thought removing your emotional anchor would break you permanently, Conquest says. I thought grief would destroy what training could build. I was wrong. The grief made you stronger. It gave you purpose, just like it did in the original timeline when I impaled her and she survived. Either way, Eve's pain was the catalyst for your growth. I just changed which pain and when. No, Conquest agrees. It does not, but it is the truth, and I owe you truth if nothing else. Mark walks to the window, looking out at Tailskria. Thetis thinks you are genuine. My father thinks we can trust you. Alan thinks you are insane but useful. I do not know what to think. Conquest says, but let me help you prepare for Thragg. That is all I ask. When you are ready, when you are strong enough, you can kill me if you want. But first, let me make sure you survive what is coming. Mark turns back to him. You really think I can beat Thragg? I do not think it, Conquest says. I know it. I have seen it. You drag him into the sun and burn him alive. But that is years away. Right now, you are not ready. Right now, Thragg would kill you in seconds. We need to change that. How? By teaching you what I learned in 5,000 years of combat, Conquest says. By showing you every weakness in Viltrumite fighting styles. By preparing you for every tactic Thragg will use. I cannot make you stronger than him, but I can make you smart enough to survive him. Mark considers this, then he says something that surprises Conquest. My father says you fought Thragg to save me, that you took hits meant for him, that you bled protecting Earth. Is that true? You said you wanted to kill me. Why switch sides? Conquest thinks about how to answer, then he decides on the simple truth. Because I realize the Empire's ideology is death. Thragg represents the old way. Strength through domination, survival through cruelty. That path leads to extinction. You represent something new. Strength through choice, survival through cooperation. I want to see if that path works, even if it means betraying everything I was. Mark is silent for a long time, then he nods. Okay, train me, teach me how to beat him, but know this, Conquest, I have not forgiven you for Eve, and I never will. I understand, Conquest says. Good, Mark says. He walks toward the door, then stops. One more thing. In the future you remember, when I kill you, does it hurt? Conquest smiles slightly. Yes, a lot, but it is a good death, the kind warriors dream of. Mark nods and leaves. Conquest sits back down, exhausted from the conversation. But something inside him feels lighter. He has made his choice. He has picked his side. Now he just needs to live long enough to see it through. Over the next month, Conquest becomes Mark's primary combat instructor. Nolan teaches fundamentals. Alan teaches strategy. Thetis teaches Viltrumite history and culture. But Conquest teaches survival. They train in simulation chambers designed to withstand Viltrumite combat. Conquest runs Mark through scenarios based on his memories, ambushes, multi-opponent fights, battles against faster enemies, fights against stronger opponents. Every session is brutal. Every session leaves Mark bleeding, but Mark gets better. Conquest watches him adapt, watches him learn, watches him develop the instincts that kept him alive in the future Conquest remembers. The refusal to quit, the ability to fight through pain, the tactical awareness that turns disadvantages into opportunities. During one session, Mark actually lands a clean hit on Conquest, a punch to the ribs that cracks bone. Conquest has to stop the fight to heal. Mark apologizes. Conquest laughs. Do not apologize for winning. That is exactly what you need to do against Thragg. I did not win, Mark says. You were holding back. Of course I was, Conquest says. If I fought you at full strength right now, I would kill you. But that is not the point. The point is you are getting faster, stronger, smarter. At this rate, you will be ready when Thragg returns. When is that? Mark asks. Soon, Conquest says. Thragg is rebuilding his strategy. He knows the coalition is mobilizing. He knows you are training. He will not wait long. 6 months, maybe less. Then he will come with everything he has. Will we win? Conquest does not answer immediately. The future he remembers is already changing. Events are happening in different orders. People who should be alive are dead. The timeline is fracturing in ways he cannot predict. I do not know, Conquest finally says. The future I remember is not the future we are creating. All I know is you have a chance, and that is more than Earth had before. That night, Conquest receives a priority transmission. Coalition intelligence has detected Viltrumite movement near Viltrum. Thragg is assembling the entire empire. Every warrior, every ship, every resource. The invasion is coming. Conquest forwards the message to Thetis with a single note attached. This is it. Thragg is coming for Earth. ETA 4 to 6 weeks. We need to evacuate civilians and fortify defenses. Mark is not ready yet, but we are out of time. Thetis responds immediately. Evacuation is impossible. 8 billion humans cannot be moved off planet. We defend Earth or we lose it. Assemble the coalition fleet. Prepare Mark for combat. And Conquest? Yes. If this is a trap, if you are leading us into an ambush, I will make sure you die slowly. Understood. Conquest closes the communication and looks out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Thragg is preparing to destroy everything Conquest is trying to build. Somewhere out there, the future is waiting to see which version of itself survives. And Conquest realizes something that terrifies him more than death. He has no idea how this ends anymore. The evacuation sirens echo across Washington, D.C. for the third time in a month. People are tired of running, tired of drills, tired of waiting for an invasion that never seems to arrive. But Cecil Stedman does not care if they are tired. He keeps running the evacuations because when the Viltrumites come, seconds will matter. On the roof of the rebuilt GDA headquarters, Cecil watches the city empty. Highways are gridlocked, shelters are filling, panic is controlled but building. And overhead, coalition ships hang in the atmosphere like metal clouds, waiting. Nolan lands beside him. How long until they are all clear? How long until Thragg arrives? Unknown, Nolan says. Conquest's intelligence says the Viltrumite fleet left Viltrum 2 days ago. They could be here in hours or days depending on their route. And Mark? Training, Nolan says. He has improved significantly. Conquest has been effective. Brutal, but effective. I never thought I would see the day when we trusted Conquest to prepare our only viable defense against extinction. We do not trust him, Nolan says. We use him. There is a difference. Does Mark know that? Nolan is quiet for a moment. Mark understands what Conquest is, a warrior who killed the woman he loved, a defector who might be playing a long game. But Mark also understands we need every advantage. Conquest has 5,000 years of combat experience. That knowledge is worth the risk. Unless Conquest is feeding Mark false information, Cecil says, teaching him tactics designed to fail against Thragg, setting him up to die when it matters most. Every technique Conquest teaches is verified against Viltrumite historical records. Every strategy is tested in simulation. If Conquest is lying, we will know before Mark faces Thragg. And if we are wrong, then Mark dies and Earth falls, Nolan says simply, which is what happens anyway if we do nothing. Cecil takes a long drag from his cigarette. I hate this. I hate relying on aliens to save us. I hate that humanity's survival depends on whether one 19-year-old kid can punch hard enough. That is the reality of living in a universe with Viltrumites, Nolan says. Humans are not at the top of the food chain. You never were, you just did not know it until I revealed the truth. Thanks for that, Cecil says dryly. An alert sounds from Cecil's earpiece. He listens, then his face goes pale. We have Viltrumite signatures, multiple contacts, entering the solar system now. Nolan's eyes snap towards space. Even from here, even without sensors, he can feel them coming. A pressure in the air, a weight in his chest, the presence of his own species approaching with lethal intent. How many? Nolan asks. Cecil checks his tablet. 15. No. 16. Wait. More contacts appearing. 20. 25. They are still coming. There are only 47 Viltrumites left in the Empire. Thragg would not bring them all to Earth. He would keep some in reserve to protect Viltrum. Well, he brought more than half, Cecil says, and they are heading straight for us. Nolan activates his communicator. Thetis, we have incoming. Thragg is here with at least 25 warriors. We need the coalition fleet in position now. Thetis's voice comes through, calm despite the situation. Fleet is deploying. Mark is suiting up, Space Racer's charging his weapon. We are as ready as we will ever be. Where is Conquest? Nolan asks. Here, a voice says behind him. Nolan turns. Conquest is hovering near the roof, fully healed, wearing simple combat armor. His expression is grim. This is more than Thragg brought to Earth last time. He is committing everything. Because you told him Mark is the heir, Cecil says. Because you revealed the bloodline secret. Now Thragg has to kill Mark or risk losing the loyalty of the Empire. I know, Conquest says, which means I have to help end it. You cannot fight 25 Viltrumites, Nolan says. No, Conquest agrees. But I can buy time. I can create openings. I can make Thragg fight on 2 fronts instead of 1. You will die, Nolan says. I know, Conquest says. I have died before. I am getting used to it. Above them, the sky begins to change. Not clouds, not weather. The Viltrumite fleet is entering the atmosphere. Massive warships burning through the air like falling stars, and surrounding them, moving faster than the ships, are individual warriors. Viltrumites in formation, an army of the strongest species in the known universe descending on one planet. People in the streets look up. Some scream, some run. Some stand frozen, unable to process what they are seeing. The Viltrumite formation reaches the atmosphere and spreads out. They are not attacking randomly. They are taking strategic positions around the planet, covering all approach vectors, surrounding Earth completely. Then one figure descends faster than the others, larger, more powerful. The pressure of his presence makes the air feel heavy. Grand Regent Thragg. He lands in the middle of the National Mall, directly in front of the ruins of the Capitol building that he destroyed during his last visit. Behind him, the Washington Monument still stands, a symbol of human civilization that has somehow survived multiple alien attacks. Thragg looks at the monument, then he reaches out with one hand and pushes it. The entire structure topples like a domino, crashing into the reflecting pool and sending water cascading across the grounds. "People of Earth," Thragg says. His voice is amplified somehow, carrying across the entire city, across the entire planet through hijacked communication networks. "I gave you a chance to surrender. You refused. I gave you time to reconsider. You prepared for war instead. So now I will show you what war with the Viltrumite Empire truly means." Every Viltrumite in orbit moves simultaneously. They descend on major cities across the globe: London, Tokyo, Beijing, Moscow, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Lagos, Sydney, 25 of the strongest warriors in existence spreading out to demonstrate unstoppable power. But they do not kill anyone. Not yet. They simply destroy infrastructure. Power plants explode, dams crumble, communication towers collapse. Within minutes, half of Earth's technological civilization is offline. Then Thragg speaks again. "You have 1 hour. Surrender the half-breed called Mark Grayson to me. If you comply, I will spare your species and integrate you peacefully into the Empire. If you resist, I will eradicate every major city on this planet. You have seen what one Viltrumite can do. Now face what 25 can accomplish together." Cecil looks at Nolan. "We are not giving him Mark." "I know," Nolan says, "even if it means everyone dies. Mark is not just my son," Nolan says. "He is the future. The only chance this universe has of evolving past the Empire's cruelty. If we give him to Thragg, we save Earth today but condemn every other world Thragg conquers tomorrow." "Easy to say when it is not your planet," Cecil says. "I lived on Earth for 20 years, Nolan says quietly. "I loved a woman here. I raised my son here. This is my planet too, and I am willing to let it burn if it means the Empire falls." Before Cecil can respond, a coalition ship descends through the atmosphere. The vessel lands in front of Thragg, and the bay doors open. Mark emerges, followed by Alan, Space Racer, Thetis, and 24 coalition soldiers. Mark is wearing new armor, coalition design reinforced for Viltrumite combat. His broken arm has healed. His face shows no fear, just determination. He walks toward Thragg alone. Thragg smiles. "Ah, the heir, you came to me. How convenient. I am here to fight you," Mark says, "not surrender." "Fighting me is suicide," Thragg says. "I am 5,000 years old. I have killed entire civilizations. I have survived wars you cannot imagine. What makes you think you can stand against me? Because I have something you do not," Mark says. "What? You fight because you think strength gives you the right to rule. I fight because people I love are depending on me to protect them. That is the difference between us. Attachment is weakness. The Empire purged those flaws from our culture millennia ago. That is why we conquered the galaxy and you are barely holding one planet." "Then let me show you what weakness can accomplish," Mark says. He charges. Thragg catches his punch effortlessly. Then he counters with a headbutt that sends Mark flying backward into a building. Mark crashes through concrete and steel, emerging on the other side covered in dust and blood. But he gets back up. Thragg's smile fades slightly. "You have improved since our last encounter. Conquest trained you well. He taught me how to survive you," Mark says, spitting blood. "Not beat you, not yet, but survive long enough for help to arrive." "What help?" Thragg asks. Space Racer fires his gun. The energy beam crosses the distance in microseconds, aimed directly at Thragg's head. Thragg moves faster, dodging by millimeters. The beam vaporizes the ground where he was standing. "That help," Mark says. Then the Coalition fleet opens fire, dozens of ships unleashing their weapons simultaneously. Energy beams, kinetic projectiles, sonic disruptors, all targeted at the Viltrumites spread across Earth. But the Viltrumites are faster. They dodge the attacks, regroup, and begin destroying the Coalition ships one by one. Craig tears through a cruiser's hull with his bare hands. Anissa disables 3 fighters with precision strikes. Lucan grabs a missile mid-flight and throws it back at the ship that fired it. The space battle turns into a slaughter in seconds. On the ground, Nolan and Conquest land beside Mark. The 3 of them face Thragg together. Behind Thragg, other Viltrumites are returning from their global demonstration. The odds shift from impossible to catastrophic. 3 against 25, Thragg says. And one of you is a traitor. This will not take long. Everyone turns. From the coalition ship, a small figure emerges, walking slowly, deliberately, carrying an energy weapon that glows with barely contained power. Battle Beast, the legendary warrior who fights for the pure joy of combat, the creature who has defeated entire armies alone, the being who the coalition recruited specifically for this moment. Battle Beast looks at Thragg and smiles, showing teeth designed for tearing flesh. I have heard you are the strongest Viltrumite. Prove it. Thragg's expression changes. For the first time in this fight, he looks genuinely interested. You want to challenge me, but you might finally give me the battle I have been seeking. Then you will die satisfied, Thragg says. Battle Beast charges. Thragg meets him. The collision is so violent it creates a shockwave that shatters windows for miles. They separate, then crash together again. Claws rake across Viltrumite's skin. Fists pound into alien muscle. Both warriors bleed. Both warriors smile. This is the fight they both wanted. While Thragg is occupied, Nolan grabs Mark and Conquest. We need to split their forces. If all 25 attack together, we lose. We need to create chaos. How? Mark asks. Conquest speaks up. I know how. Craig is loyal to Thragg, but he doubts him now. I saw it when I revealed the bloodline secret. Anissa is curious about Mark's heritage. Several others are uncertain. If we can turn some of them, even temporarily, we create division. How do we turn Viltrumites? Mark asks. We prove you are the heir, Conquest says. We force Thragg to confirm it, in front of everyone. If he admits the truth, his authority shatters. If he denies it, he looks like a liar. Either way, we win. How do we force him to confirm anything? Nolan asks. He is fighting Battle Beast. He is winning. You have to hit him hard enough that he respects you, hard enough that he sees you as more than a half-breed, hard enough that he acknowledges your bloodline. I am not that strong, Mark says. Not alone, Conquest says. But with help, you might be. Before anyone can respond, Craig descends from the sky, landing in front of them. Behind him, 3 other Viltrumites follow. They look at Conquest with a mixture of confusion and anger. Conquest, Craig says, Thragg ordered your execution for treason, but I want to hear it from you first. Is it true? Is the half-breed Argal's heir? Omni-Man's bloodline traces directly to Emperor Argal. Mark Grayson is the rightful ruler of the Viltrumite Empire. He said you were compromised by the coalition. Thragg is protecting his authority, Conquest says. He knows the truth. He has always known. He just buried it because acknowledging Mark's claim would end his reign. Craig looks at Mark. You do not look like an emperor. I am not, Mark says. Not yet. But I will be, if I survive this. Surviving Thragg is impossible, Craig says. So was surviving Conquest, Mark says. Twice. But I am still here. Craig considers this. Then he makes a decision that changes everything. If you are truly the heir, prove it. Fight Thragg. If you can make him acknowledge your bloodline, I will stand with you. If you fail, I will kill you myself. Deal, Mark says. Craig and the other Viltrumites pull back. They do not attack, they do not defend, they simply watch, waiting to see what happens next. Across the battlefield, Thragg throws Battle Beast through a building. The alien warrior crashes into rubble, bleeding from a dozen wounds. But he is smiling. Yes, this is a real fight. Thragg turns toward Mark. He sees Craig and the others standing aside. He sees the uncertainty spreading through his ranks. And he sees the trap Conquest has built. Clever, Thragg says to Conquest. You used the bloodline secret to fracture my authority, but it will not work. I am still the strongest. Strength is the only truth that matters. Then let me test your strength, Mark says. He flies toward Thragg at full speed. Nolan and Conquest flank him. All 3 hit Thragg simultaneously. The impact drives Thragg backward for the first time in the battle. Not far, not much, but enough. Enough for every Viltrumite watching to see that Thragg can be moved. And in that moment, the certainty that held the Empire together begins to crack. Thragg recovers in milliseconds, planting his feet and stopping the backward momentum. He grabs Mark by the throat with one hand, Nolan with the other, and headbutts Conquest so hard the old warrior's vision goes white. All three separate, bleeding, regrouping 20 feet away. But they hit him, they moved him, and every Viltrumite watching saw it happen. Thragg's expression darkens. You think numbers will save you? I have fought armies. I have destroyed planets. 3 warriors are nothing. Then why are you angry? Mark asks, wiping blood from his mouth. If we are nothing, why does our attack bother you? Thragg does not answer. He launches himself at Mark, moving faster than before. His fist connects with Mark's ribs, cracking bone. Mark gasps, but Conquest is already there, grabbing Thragg's arm and pulling him off balance. Nolan uses the opening to slam into Thragg's side. The 3 of them swarm the Grand Regent, attacking from different angles, never giving him a clean shot at any single target. It is not elegant, it is not honorable by Viltrumite standards, but it is working. Thragg breaks free with an explosive burst of strength, sending all 3 flying. Enough games. I will kill you all at once. He rises into the air, preparing to dive down with terminal velocity and crush them. But before he can descend, Space Racer fires again. The energy beam forces Thragg to dodge, disrupting his attack. Alan the alien follows up with a barrage of energy blasts from his rebuilt body. The Coalition ships that survived the initial assault add their firepower, creating a web of attacks that Thragg has to navigate. And while he is distracted, Mark speaks, loudly, so every Viltrumite can hear. Craig, you asked for proof of my bloodline. Ask Thragg directly. Ask him if my father's lineage traces to Emperor Argal. Ask him if he has been hiding the truth to maintain power. Craig hovers nearby, watching. Behind him, Anissa and Lucan and several other Viltrumites wait. The question hangs in the air. Thragg lands, his eyes locked on Mark. You dare question your honesty? Mark says. Conquest told me you have always known about my bloodline, that you buried the evidence to protect your position as Grand Regent. Is that true? Conquest is a traitor and a liar, Thragg says. Then prove it, Mark says. Tell everyone here that my bloodline does not trace to Argal. Say it in front of all these witnesses. If you are telling the truth, they will believe you. If you are lying, they will know. Thragg's jaw tightens. He could lie. He could deny everything. But Viltrumites have an instinct for deception. They can sense fear. They can hear the subtle changes in voice patterns when someone is not telling the truth. And with this many witnesses, with Craig specifically watching for any sign of dishonesty, lying would be detected. Thragg makes a choice. He tells a partial truth. Your father's bloodline does trace to Argal, but bloodline alone means nothing. Argal had hundreds of descendants, most died in the Great Purge or the Scourge virus. The few who survived scattered across the galaxy. You are one of many potential heirs, not the heir. If I am just one of many, why am I a threat? Conquest speaks up, because Mark is different, not just another descendant. He is the product of Argal's pure bloodline mixing with human genetics. The Scourge virus weakened pure Viltrumites, made us slower to heal, reduced our strength, but half-breeds like Mark do not carry the virus. They have full Viltrumite potential without the genetic damage the rest of us suffer from. Murmurs spread through the Viltrumite ranks. This is new information to most of them. The Scourge virus is a carefully guarded secret. Thragg has spent centuries hiding the Empire's weakness from conquered species. But now that weakness is being exposed in front of everyone. Anissa speaks, her voice carrying across the battlefield. Is this true, Regent? Are half-breeds stronger than pure Viltrumites? The boy is still weak, untrained, emotional. He has years before he could challenge any true warrior. He challenged you, Conquest says. We all saw it. 3 against 1, yes. But we moved you. We made you bleed. And Mark is only 19 years old. What happens when he is 100, 1,000? What happens when he has the experience to match his bloodline? He will never reach that age, Thragg says, because I will kill him today. Then you admit he is a threat, Mark says. You admit I could surpass you given time. That is why you are here. Not to conquer Earth, to eliminate the one person who could replace you. I do not admit anything except that you talk too much. He attacks again, this time targeting Mark exclusively. The speed is overwhelming. Mark barely blocks the first punch. The second one breaks through his guard and shatters his jaw. The third hits his stomach and drives the air from his lungs. Mark crashes into the ground, unable to breathe, vision blurring. Thragg lands beside him. This is what happens to heirs who challenge the strong. They die. Thragg raises his fist for the killing blow. Conquest tackles him from the side. They tumble across the battlefield trading punches. Conquest knows he cannot beat Thragg in a straight fight, but he does not need to win. He just needs to buy time. You taught me this, Conquest says, blocking a punch and countering with an elbow. In training, 5,000 years ago. You said the key to defeating a superior opponent is not strength. It is making them fight your battle instead of theirs. I also taught you that such tactics only work when the opponent is stupid enough to fall for them, Thragg says. He grabs Conquest's arm and breaks it. Conquest screams. Thragg throws him into a building. Conquest crashes through walls, through floors, landing in what used to be an office. He tries to stand, but his arm is shattered. His ribs are broken again. His vision is fading. This is it. This is where he dies. Then he hears footsteps. Mark enters the ruined building, his own jaw already healing from Thragg's attack. You are not dying yet. I still need you. I cannot fight anymore, Conquest says. Blood is running from his mouth. My arm is gone, ribs punctured lung. I have maybe minutes before I pass out. You have fought Thragg before. You have trained with him. What does he fear? Nothing, Conquest says. That is his strength and his weakness. He fears nothing because he has never lost. But that means he has never adapted. He fights the same way every time. Overwhelming force, absolute confidence, no strategy beyond raw power. How do I use that? Make him angry, Conquest says. Angry warriors make mistakes, and you already know how to make him angry. Keep questioning his authority. Keep implying he is afraid of you. Keep showing the other Viltrumites that he has to use overwhelming force against a 19-year-old half-breed. That will just make him kill me faster, Mark says. Yes, Conquest agrees, but it will also make him sloppy, and when he is sloppy, when he overcommits to a killing blow, that is when you have an opening. An opening to do what? I cannot beat him, Conquest says. You just need to make him acknowledge you, one clean hit, one moment where you hurt him badly enough that he has to respect you. That is all Craig and the others need to see, proof that the heir can challenge the regent. Mark looks at his broken mentor, bleeding on the floor of a ruined building. You are dying to help me. Why? But I can make sure her death meant something. I can make sure you become strong enough that no one else you love dies because you are not ready. I am still not ready, Mark says. Then get ready fast, Conquest says. Because Thragg is coming. The wall explodes inward. Thragg stands in the breach, silhouetted by sunlight. How touching, the traitor and the half-breed bonding over their shared weakness. Mark stands, placing himself between Conquest and Thragg. You want me? Come get me. Gladly, Thragg says. He charges. Mark does not dodge. Instead, he does something Conquest taught him during their training sessions. Something risky. Something that only works once. Mark catches Thragg's punch. Not blocking it. Not deflecting it. Actually catching it and stopping the momentum. Mark's bones crack from the force. His arm nearly breaks, but he holds on. For 1 second, Mark Grayson stops Grand Regent Thragg's attack completely. Thragg's eyes widen in genuine surprise. How? It is not as devastating as the headbutt Thragg gave him earlier. It does not break Thragg's jaw or knock him unconscious, but it splits the Grand Regent's lip. It draws blood. And it proves something. Mark can hurt him. The watching Viltrumites see it. Craig sees it. Anissa sees it. Lucan sees it. Even Battle Beast, still recovering from his own fight with Thragg, sees it. The heir just wounded the regent. Thragg's expression goes cold. He grabs Mark by the throat and flies straight up, accelerating through the atmosphere. Mark tries to break free, but Thragg's grip is unbreakable. They exit Earth's atmosphere in seconds, entering the vacuum of space. Thragg holds Mark in front of him. You want to challenge me? Fine. Let us fight where there are no witnesses. No coalition, no tricks, just you and me and the void. Mark cannot breathe in space without preparation. His Viltrumite biology can survive it, but not comfortably, not for long. Thragg knows this. He is using the environment as a weapon. But Mark was trained for this too. Conquest made him practice holding his breath, made him fight in simulated vacuum conditions, made him learn to function when every instinct screams for air. Mark's fist slams into Thragg's face once. 3 times. Thragg releases him, surprised by the ferocity. They separate, hovering in space, Earth visible below them. You can fight in vacuum, Thragg says. Conquest taught you well. He taught me how to survive you, Mark says, his voice coming through a coalition communicator built into his armor. Not beat you, but survive you long enough to prove I am not weak. Proving you are not weak is not the same as being strong, Thragg says. Maybe not, Mark says, but it is a start. Nolan arrives, breaking atmosphere at full speed. Conquest is with him, being carried because his injuries prevent him from flying. They position themselves on either side of Mark, facing Thragg together. 3 against 1 again, Thragg says. You really think numbers will change the outcome? But we think witnesses will. He gestures downward. Below them, Craig and 5 other Viltrumites have followed them into space. They are not attacking, just watching, waiting to see how this ends. Thragg realizes the trap. If he kills Mark now, in front of these witnesses, without giving the boy a fair fight, he looks afraid. Afraid of what Mark represents. Afraid of the bloodline claim. Afraid of losing his authority. But if he gives Mark a fair fight, and Mark lands even one more clean hit, the other Viltrumites will see that the heir has potential, that Thragg's position is not unassailable. That change is possible. Either way, Thragg's absolute control over the Empire fractures. Clever, Thragg says, but ultimately meaningless. I will kill you in a fair fight just as easily as an unfair one. Then let us find out, Mark says. Nolan and Conquest pull back, giving Mark space. Craig and the others spread out, forming a loose perimeter. The stage is set. The heir versus the regent. 1-on-1. No interference. Thragg smiles. I have been waiting 5,000 years to kill someone worthy. You are not that person, but you are the closest I have found in centuries. That will have to be enough. He attacks. Mark barely survives the first exchange. Thragg is faster, stronger, more experienced. Every punch Mark throws is blocked or countered. Every defense Mark raises is shattered. Within 30 seconds, Mark is bleeding from a dozen wounds. But he is still standing, still fighting, still refusing to quit. Thragg lands a punch that breaks Mark's arm. Mark switches to his other arm and keeps swinging. Thragg breaks that one too. Mark headbutts him anyway. Thragg breaks Mark's ribs. Mark kicks him. Thragg breaks Mark's leg. Mark bites him. The fight becomes primal, desperate. Mark is losing, but he will not fall, will not surrender, will not give Thragg the satisfaction of an easy victory. And slowly, grudgingly, Thragg's expression changes from anger to something else. Respect. You fight like a true Viltrumite, Thragg says, blocking another headbutt. Broken and bleeding, but refusing to yield. That is the first valuable thing about you. Acknowledge I am the heir, acknowledge my bloodline. Give me that much before you kill me. Thragg hesitates. Then he speaks, loud enough for every watching Viltrumite to hear. You are Argol's descendant. Your bloodline is pure. If you survive this day and grow strong enough, you could challenge for the throne. But that day is not today. He raises his fist for the final blow. Conquest's voice cuts through the void. Regent, the coalition fleet just arrived. 200 ships. Tail Skria sent everything, a massive fleet emerging from faster-than-light travel, surrounding Earth completely. More ships than the Viltrumite Empire can match. More firepower than Thragg's 25 warriors can handle. The Grand Regent makes a calculation. He can kill Mark now and lose the entire war. Or he can retreat, regroup, and come back stronger. Viltrumites, Thragg commands. Return to the ships. We withdraw to Viltrum. Let the coalition come to us if they dare. The Viltrumites hesitate. Craig speaks up. Regent, we have them beaten. Why retreat? Because the Empire has fewer than 50 warriors, Thragg says. I will not lose them fighting for one planet, when the coalition still exists across 1,000 systems. We retreat strategically. We fortify Viltrum. We make them pay for every inch of space they take. That is how we win. Craig does not look satisfied, but he obeys. The other Viltrumites follow. They disengage from their battles across Earth and return to their warships. Thragg looks at Mark one last time. You live because I allow it. Remember that when you claim to be the heir. Then he is gone, flying toward his warship with the other Viltrumites following. Within minutes, the Viltrumite fleet exits Earth's atmosphere and jumps to faster-than-light travel, heading back toward Viltrum, leaving Earth battered but intact. Mark floats in space, both arms broken, ribs shattered, barely conscious. Nolan catches him before he drifts away. You did it. You survived, Thragg. I barely survived, Mark whispers. He was toying with me, but he acknowledged your bloodline, Conquest says, despite his own critical injuries. In front of witnesses. That is what matters. The Empire knows you are the rightful heir now. Thragg's authority is damaged. We won. Doesn't feel like winning, Mark says before passing out. Nolan carries his unconscious son back toward Earth, where Coalition medical ships are already landing to treat the wounded. Conquest watches them go, then looks at Craig, who is still hovering nearby. You saw it. The heir can challenge the regent. Given time, Mark will surpass Thragg, but that is not today, and it might not be for years. Years is enough, Conquest says. The future is no longer fixed. Craig stares at him. You really believe the Empire should fall? I believe the Empire is already falling, Conquest says. The only question is whether we fall fighting for the old way or building a new one. Craig does not respond. He just flies toward the Viltrumite warship, leaving Conquest alone in space. Conquest smiles despite the pain. The timeline has changed again. Thragg retreated instead of dying here. The Viltrumite war is postponed, not prevented. But Mark survived. Mark proved himself. Mark became the heir in front of witnesses. That is enough. For now, the Coalition medical facility on Tailskria hums with activity. Doctors work on Mark in the primary chamber while Nolan stands outside, watching through reinforced glass. Both of Mark's arms are being rebuilt with cellular regeneration technology. His ribs are being fused back together. His internal bleeding has been stopped, but the bruising covers half his body. He has been unconscious for 3 days. Debbie Grayson sits beside Nolan, exhausted from the constant vigil. She flew to Tailskria the moment the Coalition allowed civilian transport. She has not left Mark's side, except to sleep. Will he wake up? She asks quietly. Yes, Nolan says. Viltrumite healing factor is working. He just needs time. Fighting that monster, defending a planet that half the time treats him like a threat. He fought because he chose to, Nolan says, not because anyone forced him. That is what makes him different from Thragg, different from what I used to be. Debbie looks at her ex-husband. They have been divorced for months now, the strain of Nolan's revelation and departure too much for their marriage to survive. But she still cares about him, still understands him in ways no one else can. Do you regret it? Telling Mark the truth? Starting all of this? But I also know that hiding the truth would have been worse. The Empire was always coming. Mark was always going to be caught in the middle. At least this way he had time to prepare. Some preparation, Debbie says, gesturing at their broken son. He is 19 years old, and he is fighting the strongest warrior in the galaxy. He is 19 years old, and he survived fighting the strongest warrior in the galaxy. Nolan corrects. That is more than anyone expected. More than I could have done at his age. Inside the medical chamber, Mark's eyes open. Nolan and Debbie rush inside. Mark tries to sit up, but his body does not cooperate yet. Everything hurts. Everything feels wrong. But he is alive. Mom? Mark's voice is hoarse. I am here, Debbie says, taking his hand carefully. Do not try to move. The doctors say you need another day before the regeneration is complete. Where is he? Gone, Nolan says. He retreated to Viltrum with the entire Viltrumite fleet. The Coalition has blockaded the system, but we have not attacked yet. Thetis is still building strategy. Did we win? Mark asks. You survived, Nolan says. And Thragg acknowledged your bloodline in front of witnesses. That is as close to victory as we could have hoped for. Mark closes his eyes. He remembers the fight. Remembers Thragg breaking both his arms. Remembers refusing to quit even when every instinct screamed to surrender. Remembers the moment Thragg called him a true Viltrumite. Where is Conquest? Mark asks. Recovering, Nolan says. His injuries were severe. Thragg shattered his arm completely. But he will survive. I need to talk to him. Mark, you need to rest. I need to talk to him, Mark repeats. Now, Debbie and Nolan exchange looks. Then Nolan nods. I will bring him here. 10 minutes later, Conquest enters the medical chamber. He is moving slowly, his right arm in a regeneration cast similar to what Mark had during training. His face is still bruised. His movements are careful, measured. But he is alive. You wanted to see me, Conquest says. I wanted to thank you, Mark says, for saving my life, for teaching me how to survive Thragg, for defecting when you could have stayed loyal and lived. I defected because loyalty to the Empire was death, Conquest says. Slow death, Meaningless death. At least this way my death will mean something. You are not dead yet. No, Conquest agrees. But I will be, eventually. We both know how this ends. Mark looks at him. In the future, you remember I kill you during the Viltrumite War. But that war did not happen. Not the way you remember. Thragg retreated instead of attacking Viltrum directly. The timeline changed. Yes, Conquest says. Which means I do not know what happens next. The future is no longer fixed. I might live. I might die differently. I might even survive to see you become emperor. Would you want that? Mark asks. To see me become emperor? Conquest considers this. I spent 5,000 years believing Viltrumite supremacy was the only truth. That strength gave us the right to conquer, that the weak existed to serve the strong. Seeing you become emperor would mean accepting that I was wrong about everything. That compassion can be stronger than cruelty. That cooperation can be more effective than domination. That is not an answer, Mark says. Yes, Conquest says finally. I would want to see it, even if it means admitting I wasted 5 millennia serving the wrong cause. Mark nods slowly. Then help me get there. Help me become strong enough to challenge Thragg properly. Help me build a different kind of empire. One that does not conquer, one that protects. That is something else entirely. Then help me build something else, Mark says. Conquest smiles despite the pain. Very well, but first you need to heal, and I need to tell you what comes next. Thragg retreated, but he is not finished. He is fortifying Viltrum, building defenses, preparing for the coalition to attack, and when we do attack, he will be ready. Then we do not attack, Mark says. Not yet. We wait. We train. We build strength. We let him sit on Viltrum, wondering when we are coming, wondering if the coalition will strike, wondering if his own warriors will turn against him now that they know I am the heir. That is good strategy, Conquest says. Thragg's greatest weakness is paranoia. Make him wait. Make him doubt. Make him question his own authority. That will hurt him more than any direct attack. Nolan speaks up from the doorway. The Coalition Council has been debating this. Thetis wants to strike while the Empire is weakened. Alan agrees. But Space Racer thinks waiting is smarter. Gives us time to build more weapons, more ships, more advantages. What do you think? Mark asks his father. I think we should listen to the warrior who just fought Thragg and survived, Nolan says, looking at Conquest. What would you do? Conquest thinks carefully. In the future, I remember, the Coalition attacked Viltrum directly. It worked because Mark, you, Thetis, and Space Racer destroyed the planet's core. But that timeline had Mark at full strength. This timeline has him broken and healing. We're not ready for that battle yet. So we wait, Mark says. We wait, Conquest confirms. But we do not waste time. We train. We fortify coalition worlds. We build alliances. We prepare for the moment when Thragg inevitably comes to Earth again, or when we are strong enough to take Viltrum. How long? Mark asks. Months, Conquest says. Maybe a year. Depends on how fast you heal and how much stronger you can become. Mark looks at his broken arms, at his shattered ribs, at the bruises covering his body. Then, I better heal fast. 3 weeks later, Mark is cleared for light training. His arms have regenerated. His ribs have fused. The bruising has faded. But he is not the same fighter who faced Thragg. Something changed during that battle. Something hardened inside him. Conquest notices it during their first sparring session since the battle. Mark moves differently, fights differently. There is less hesitation, less mercy. More focus on ending fights quickly rather than fighting honorably. You are becoming more Viltrumite, Conquest observes after Mark lands a brutal combination that would have killed a human opponent. Is that bad? Mark asks. Not bad, Conquest says. Just different. The Mark who fought me the first time hesitated before killing blows, pulled punches to avoid unnecessary casualties. This version of you does not hesitate. Eve died because I hesitated, Mark says flatly. Thousands died during the Invincible War because I let Angstrom Levy escape the first time. I am done hesitating. Careful, Conquest warns. That path leads to becoming what you are fighting against. Thragg does not hesitate. Thragg shows no mercy. If you become like him, you lose what makes you the better choice. I am not becoming like Thragg, Mark says. I am becoming strong enough to beat him. There is a difference, is there? Conquest asks. Mark does not answer. He just attacks again, faster and harder than before. Over the following months, the coalition consolidates power. Thetis negotiates alliances with neutral systems. Alan upgrades coalition fleet capabilities. Space Racer develops new weapons based on Viltrumite physiology studies. Earth rebuilds its infrastructure with coalition technology, creating defenses that might actually slow a Viltrumite invasion. And Mark trains, every day, every hour he is not sleeping or recovering. He trains with Conquest on Viltrumite combat techniques. He trains with Nolan on aerial maneuvers. He trains with Battle Beast on fighting opponents stronger than himself. He trains with Space Racer on tactical thinking. By the 6th month after Thragg's retreat, Mark is noticeably stronger, faster, more dangerous. Conquest tests him in a full combat simulation. Mark dominates the fight, landing hits Conquest cannot block. Moving at speeds Conquest struggles to track. The old warrior calls a halt after Mark breaks 2 of his ribs. "That is enough," Conquest says, healing rapidly. "You have surpassed where I was at your age, probably where I am now given my injuries from Thragg." "But I have not surpassed Thragg," Mark says. "Not yet," Conquest admits. "But you are closing the gap. Another year of this training and you might be ready." "We might not have a year," Mark says. "Intelligence reports say Thragg is mobilizing again. He is testing coalition defenses. Probing for weaknesses, he is trying to draw us out," Conquest says. "Make us attack before we are ready. Do not take the bait." But the Coalition Council disagrees. During a strategy session on Tailskria, Thetis makes his case. "We cannot wait forever. Every day Thragg sits on Viltrum is a day he fortifies his position. Eventually we will have to attack. The question is whether we do it now while we still have momentum, or later when he has had years to prepare. He needs more time. Mark survived Thragg once," Thetis counters. "He can survive him again, especially with the entire coalition fleet supporting him." Alan sides with Thetis. "Our intelligence says Viltrumite morale is low. Craig and several others are questioning Thragg's leadership. If we strike now, we might trigger defections. Or we might unite them against a common enemy. Viltrumites are warriors. They fight harder when attacked. Waiting costs us nothing. Attacking prematurely costs us everything." The debate goes on for hours. Finally, Thetis calls for a vote. The council is split. The deciding vote falls to Mark. Everyone looks at him, the 19-year-old half-breed who became the heir, the warrior who survived the Grand Regent, the symbol of resistance against the Empire. "What do you say, Mark?" Thetis asks. "Do we attack Viltrum now or wait?" About the thousands who died during the Invincible War. About his mother living on a planet that will never be safe while the Empire exists. About Conquest's warning that hasty attacks cost more than patient preparation. "We wait," Mark says. "But not forever. We give ourselves 1 year. 1 year to build strength, fortify defenses, and develop the weapons we need. Then we attack Viltrum with everything we have." "And if Thragg attacks us first?" Alan asks. "Then we fight him wherever he chooses," Mark says. "But we do it prepared. We do it smart. We do not throw lives away because we were impatient. 1 year, then we end this." The meeting adjourns. As Mark leaves, Conquest catches up to him in the hallway. "That was a good decision. Patient but decisive. Thragg would have attacked immediately. You chose differently. I hope it is the right choice," Mark says. "Time will tell," Conquest says. "But I have faith in you, more faith than I ever had in the Empire." "Why?" Mark asks. "What makes you think I will be better than Thragg?" "Because you asked the question," Conquest says. "Thragg never questions whether he is right. You question everything. That self-awareness is what makes you dangerous. And what makes you worthy. Coalition soldiers rush past them toward defensive positions. Thetis' voice comes over the intercom. "All personnel to battle stations. We have Viltrumite signatures approaching Tailskria. Multiple contacts. This is not a drill." Mark and Conquest exchange looks. Then they both launch themselves toward the exit, flying up through the facility and into the sky. Above Tailskria, the stars are disappearing, blocked out by Viltrumite warships. Dozens of them, more than Thragg brought to Earth. The entire Viltrumite fleet, and in front of the fleet, alone and radiating power, is Thragg himself. His voice carries across the planet through amplification technology. "Coalition of planets, you have harbored traitors, you have sheltered the half-breed, you have declared war on the Viltrumite Empire. Now face the consequences." The Viltrumite fleet begins its descent. Mark looks at Conquest. I thought we had a year. We did, Conquest says grimly. Thragg changed the timeline. Just like I did. The future is breaking faster than either of us can control. Below them, coalition forces scramble to defensive positions. Above them, the Viltrumite Empire descends like an avalanche of unstoppable force. The war has begun. Mark takes a breath. His arms are healed. His body is strong. His resolve is absolute. He thinks about Eve, about everyone depending on him, about the future Conquest believes in. Then he flies up to meet Thragg alone. Nolan tries to follow, but Mark stops him. No, this is between him and me. He came here for the heir. Let me give him what he wants. Mark rises through the atmosphere, alone, facing the entire Viltrumite fleet, facing Thragg. Facing his destiny, Thragg watches him approach and smiles. Ah, the heir. You have grown stronger since our last meeting. Good. Killing you will actually mean something now. You are not killing me today, Mark says, and you are not destroying Tailscria. You want to fight? Fine. But not here. Not where innocent people will die. You think you can dictate terms? Thragg asks. I think I am the rightful heir to Arbel's throne, Mark says, and I challenge you for it. Single combat, no interference, no fleets, just you and me. If you win, the coalition surrenders and I die. If I win, the Empire disbands and you step down. Thragg's smile widens. You have courage, foolish courage, but courage nonetheless. Very well, I accept your challenge. But not here. We fight at Viltrum, on the throne world, where everyone can see the heir fail. When? Mark asks. 1 week, Thragg says. That gives you time to say goodbye to everyone you love, because you will not survive our battle. Thragg nods. Then he and his fleet turn away, heading back toward Viltrum, leaving Tailscria intact, leaving Mark alive. For now, Mark descends back to the planet. Nolan is waiting. Conquest is waiting. Thetis is waiting. The entire coalition is waiting to hear what just happened. I challenged Thragg, Mark says. Single combat, 1 week from now, at Viltrum. That is suicide, Thetis says. Maybe, Mark agrees. But it is the only way to end this without both sides losing everything. If I die, the coalition can evacuate and regroup. If I win, the Empire falls and we rebuild. You cannot beat Thragg, Nolan says quietly. Not alone, Mark says. He looks at Conquest. But I am not alone. I have the best teacher in the galaxy. I have 1 week to learn everything he knows, 1 week to become strong enough to survive. Conquest meets his eyes. 1 week is not enough time. Then we make it enough, Mark says. You have seen the future. You know I can do this. Help me make it happen. Conquest is silent for a long moment, then he nods. 1 week. We train like you have never trained before. Every second. No rest. No mercy. I will break you and rebuild you stronger. And at the end, you will either be ready to face Thragg or you will be dead from the training itself. They fly toward the training facility. 1 week until the fight that will decide the fate of the galaxy. 1 week until Mark Grayson becomes Emperor or dies trying. And as they disappear into the facility, Nolan looks at Thetis. He is going to die, isn't he? Maybe, Thetis says. But Conquest believes in him. And Conquest has been right about the future so far. We have to trust that he is right about this too. On Viltrum, Thragg stands before the throne of Emperor Argal. The skull of the ancient ruler sits on a pedestal, silent witness to millennia of Viltrumite history. Thragg speaks to it quietly. 1 week, then the heir dies, then the bloodline ends, then my position is secure forever. Doubt. Not about his strength, not about his ability to kill Mark, but doubt about what comes after, about whether the Empire can survive on the old ideology alone, about whether the half-breed represents something the galaxy needs. Thragg crushes that doubt immediately. Weakness, sentiment, unworthy of a grand regent, but the doubt returns. Quiet, persistent, whispering that the future is no longer as certain as it once was. And in that moment, Thragg realizes something terrifying. He wants this fight, not to prove his strength, he has proven that 1,000 times, but to prove his ideology, to prove the old way is still the right way, to prove compassion is weakness and strength is the only truth. He wants Mark to give him a real battle, so when Thragg wins, it means something. The heir versus the regent, the future versus the past. 1 week, then everything changes. Let us know what you'd like to see next. The end.